okay. And I don't even know the buttons. And I literally beat that final boss fucking button mashing. I was just like, what does this do? What does that do? And I kicked his fucking ass. It was almost like a perfect fucking victory. And they were like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, dude, you have to not be good to be good.
What game were you playing?
It was Tekken. I don't remember which one.
Tekken 6. That is the one with the big pink crystal motherfucker who steamrolls you.
Well, he has legs.
He also can curl into a ball and steamroll you.
I don't remember that part. Like I had never played that game before. I've never played it since, so I pretty much beat the game one try.
It came out like 2013 or something anyway. I don't even
Yeah, it was a long time ago, for sure.
What fighting game, like, if you, of course you're always going to play Mortal Kombat, but like what fighting game are you?
Killer Instinct is my fighting game. Mortal Kombat's just the more popular one.
Well, I mean, beyond that, like, what other fighting games do you feel like you're decent at besides those two?
All of them.
If I'm playing M. Bison, I could beat the shit out of you in Street Fighter 2, but if I'm playing anybody else, I will get fucking decimated.
Get wrecked, son.
Get wrecked! I'm really great at Soul Calibur 3, and I dare you to challenge me.
Puff, are you listening?
No, I suck at Soul Calibur 3.
Puff's at home getting his controllers out, dusting them off, and he's like, my time has come.
Opening a shiny golden casket, the Ark of the Covenant. I was okay at Soul Calibur 5 until I started playing online. That's about it, honestly.
I like playing fighting games every once in a while, but it's never been something I've excelled at, really.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, that's the thing. Because there's only two characters fighting each other, and that's the entire game, you can do so much with it. And there are people who take that to weird extremes, but I like going left and forward and doing special moves and combos.
I've seen those people, like, if you watch Evo, there's people that know, like the crowd will go wild as soon as, like, somebody does, like, an odd reversal, or it's almost kind of like sometimes they find, like, a small glitch in the game.
Right, an exploit, at least.
And I've watched a video, like, people are fighting, and, like, some guy's still got half his bar left, and the other guy's got, like, no bar left, and the one guy that's got no bar left will pull some reversal, and then the crowd goes nuts, and they're just like, they know he's going to win just because he got one move to...
Right, because he was able to manage it off.
Yeah.
Sometimes that doesn't always work out, but a lot of times, like say you're playing Killer Instinct, you have what is in that game called a combo breaker.
Combo breaker.
I love it.
Those are cool.
In the newest Killer Instinct, you have counter breakers, where if you're in the middle of a combo, you can push a button at a certain time, you have to judge when they're going to try and combo break you, and if they try, you will counter break them, hit them for more damage, and your combo is now unblockable for the next few seconds, or unbreakable.
Really?
They'll get an X over their head.
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen that before, but
and
I have
that
no
means
clue.
they can't do anything. They have to take the ass beating.
They just have to sit there and take it. That's when the crowds really go hype. There's a very famous thing in Street Fighter 3, which I am garbage at. Third Strike. There was a famous Evo tournament way, way, way back in the day, like the early 2000s, where a guy... Okay, it's Ken and Chun-Li, and Chun-Li is doing her spin kick.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's a spin kick. And in that game, you can parry by pushing forward. And basically that means you block it and nullify all damage, but you have to be very frame specific. Well, this guy parries 37 times in a row successfully and proceeds to win the match. And that was so hype for people that they put it in the tutorial of the re-release of that game.
That's insane.
And the whole crowd watching it on a big screen.
I think I've
Yeah,
seen
and they're
that
like,
video.
"Wah!" Everyone, even the camera guy starts shaking.
It's insane, and it's awesome.
It's kind of weird, too, because they were talking Evo was going to go online this year.
Supposedly, yeah.
And people, of course, were like, oh, that's bullshit. They were pissed off because, of course, with being online, there is going to be lag. So, I mean, you've got fucking players that they rely on, like, they will not use a wireless controller. They have to have their controller plugged in hardwired in.
And many times it has to be a fight stick,
Yeah.
an actual arcade 1-to-1
Right.
fight stick.
And they depend on that. So a lot of guys were like, it's not a real Evo. Like
Right.
it's
right.
null and void.
Even if that's the case, I still agree with Evo's decision to do that. It's only in the name of precaution.
Right.
You can complain about it, but you're not going to get sick from it.
No.
Well, I got that. Well, that's where you just have to take the hit and be like, I'm not going to compete this year because it's not.
Exactly.
You don't have to whine about it. Just be like, it's not what I want. I'm not going to compete this year. Good luck to all the competitors. Have a good fight. Well, back when Halo 4 was having tournaments, and then they had people come to, man, this was 4 or 5 years ago because we were watching it on YouTube Live.
I remember that finale match was,
But they were all using wireless default Xbox controllers on that company's or on Xbox's default settings. Like that was the damn it, what's the word I'm looking for?
basically tournament rules.
Yeah, it was the tournament
Yeah.
rules. Everything had to be default. So you literally had to it was your skill against theirs with a bit of luck. Cuz how many people do you know online they have
We
modded
use those
controllers.
sweet turbo controllers.
Yep, they have modded controllers.
Got the
They're doing
NES
all stuff
advantage.
like that. Excuse me.
Well, and it's the same thing in Smash Bros. Terminology. There's a famous thing, no items, final destination. I guess that's what most tournaments use. They use final destination because it's a plain map with no interference from anything in the game.
Right.
And no items. That way you have to win with your character's skill alone.
Okay.
Of course, I suck at Super Smash Bros. So,
You always kick my ass.
It's kind of funny too because Smash Brothers is kind of like that teeter point. Like people that are really, really like into Tekken and Street Fighter and all those, they don't consider Smash Brothers to be like a fighter.
Right.
They consider it as something else. But I've heard a lot of other people, who aren't totally into the Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, into the deep fighting scene. They will refer to Smash as kind of like their fighter. That's the game that they can kind of rally behind in that instance.
honestly, I kind of find it ridiculous not to count it as a fighter.
Right.
It's set on a 2D plane. Yeah, there's obstacles, but that's flavor. That's all it is.
I'm just curious. Well, that falls into people's classical ideas of things. They think a fighter has to be 1v1, and they're just whatever. It's just personal taste.
Well, I mean, do you consider like Power Stone a fighting game?
I do.
It's an arena fighter, I guess.
Right.
See, it's hard to define because it
Right.
blurs the line so much.
It would be. I mean, in if you can consider Smash Brothers, I mean, you would have to consider Power Stones in that same facet.
Right. They're the same thing, pretty much.
Right. Of course, there's a lot of differences in the taste of all that, but I mean, ultimately, it's.
I would quantify Power Stone as fucking bullshit because Ed always got the Power Stones, and he was always that dude that went Super Saiyan, and then he'd whip everybody's ass.
Generic character. Yeah.
It's okay. I've still got my Dreamcast with a copy of Power Stones.
Whoa! I get Ed's character, whoever he was. I get that guy. I get
The
Super
dude who
Saiyan.
wears the red jumpsuit and looks like a pilot.
Yeah, I think that was him.
Commander Generico.
Generic punch.
Like, I personally, as a guy who loves fighting games, I would even consider them in like behind horror games. I would say they're my favorite genre. I even consider Twisted Metal a fighting game because in essence,
Well,
it
I
kind of
mean,
is.
it would be an arena fighter, just like
Right.
Power
It is.
Stone or okay.
And then you'd be like, why isn't Quake 3 one of the? Because Quake 3 is a fucking shooter. Get your goddamn genres right.
Yeah, dumbass.
I mean, it's not
Generic
like
dumbass listener.
Twisted Metal, though, could be considered a shooter as well. I mean,
but it's not exactly a racing game.
no, it's not exactly a shooter. It's not exactly a racing game.
Unless you put it on race mode.
There is no race mode. There is in 2012, but in none of the
There
others.
should be a race mode.
There should be a race mode. I agree with that.
Even Halo Combat Evolved had a race mode in multiplayer. Do you remember that shit?
I do.
Is that the one? Oh, you went from point to point.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
gave you waypoints.
I forgot about
and you
that.
Had, and you're,
It was so stupid.
oh, it sucked, but I don't know. It was good times, especially when someone, because if you had someone running with you, they just drop out the rocket launcher and then shoot the guy chasing you.
Right.
Because the vehicles back then were invincible. You couldn't destroy them, just flip them.
I do remember you and I were having a lot of fun, or maybe it was me and our cousin Jeffrey. We had a lot of fun with Mongoose Racing. It was Rocket Mongoose Racing on Halo Reach, and it was custom maps.
Okay.
People with their fucking custom maps and rocket launchers on these miniature Mario Kart-esque vehicles could cause so much chaos and so much fun.
There's some amazing custom maps.
I agree.
For Reach.
I always think about Mario Kart, and I kind of wonder, would we have Twisted Metal without Mario Kart?
That's a good question. Mark's got a shit-eating grin on his face like,
Having watched a couple documentaries on it, Mario Kart is not brought up once. The one game they keep referring to as the big inspiration is actually Mortal Kombat.
I could see that, kind of. I guess there was also Rock and Roll Racing. I guess maybe that would be kind of combat
America,
racing.
explain.
F-Zero.
Yeah.
F-Zero didn't have items.
No, it didn't.
No, not the first one, no. I was always the pink car. I forget what it's called.
Is that the one with the samurai that drove it? I always used to look at the book and see all the characters that drove it, and I could never be the green alien dude because I'm like, he's kind of a jerk. I'm not going to be him.
I always have to be Captain Falcon because everybody else looks like a fucking wrestler.
They do.
Not that Captain Falcon doesn't look like a wrestler, but he's the most endurable wrestler, if that's a word.
Judge Dredd.
Yeah, okay. I'm sold.
Anger intensifies.
Even some of those courses look like Judge Dredd maps, come to think about it.
Because they're shitty 8-bit backgrounds, that's why.
It's Parallax, actually. On that note, what about Super
7.
Star Wars? Fucking Mode 7. What about Super Star Wars? It had a racing scene part.
Oh, God. The driving on
Oh,
Super Star Wars
yeah.
was terrible.
I
When
love
you're
it.
in the sand speeder, or on the speed, yeah. And there was racing on Return of the Jedi's as well. I guess there was a Hoth scene too in Empire Strikes
There totally
Back.
was.
There was a little bit of everything in all of those.
I remember I was at a Toys R Us, and they had Super Empire Strikes Back on demo. And at that time, as this little kid, I saw that, and no one was playing it, so it was Luke riding the Tauntaun, and it was just sitting there, and the Tauntaun was breathing and moving up and down a little bit. And at that point, I was like, video games will never, ever get more realistic than this. They will never, ever be better. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Fucking dumbass I was.
It's kind of weird too because Mode 7 was pretty cool. Like even on like Pilot Wings and stuff like that, being able to twist and roll and stuff like that. Like Mode 7 added a level of depth to gaming.
My favorite usage is in Contra 3, personally.
Oh, yeah, I forget about that. It kind of gives it a 3D dimension as you're running down the street, doesn't it?
That, plus there are overhead levels that use it quite effectively.
Castlevania used it a little bit. Castlevania 4.
Castlevania used it a lot in the later levels. Like, those were the big tech demo levels, but they're towards the end of the game. I never quite got that. Like, the big spinning room, you're walking through this hallway, and the bridge is collapsing behind you, so you have to run, but the room you're in is spinning constantly. And then the very next room is you have to hang on to a latch with your whip
while the
room rotates around you.
Yeah.
And then you got these bullshit fucking Medusas. They're not
Medusa.
cats, they're snakes.
I was gonna say I don't know what sound Medusa. She's a mythical fucking creature. She can make whatever sound I choose her to make. She's not real.
You know, I always kind of look at Myst. Have you ever played Myst?
No, but I know of it.
It's funny because the summer sale's going on right now, and I just put all the Mysts on there.
Of course you did.
There's more than one.
There's 5. Actually, there's 6. But yeah.
Hot damn, I would think that exploring a random puzzle world with no enemies, no conflict, no obstacles other than puzzles. Isn't that essentially what it is?
People like
For
puzzles.
the most part. Myst was the reason that the CD-ROM became readily available. That was what really put the CD-ROM gaming on the map. In fact, it actually is kind of what cemented people into buying PCs for gaming because people were like stunned at how cool Myst really was. I mean, it wasn't violent. There was no, action sequences in it. I mean, there was some I wouldn't call them morbid, but there's some stuff in there you're just like, yeah, there's some twisted shit.
Macabre.
Right.
Macabre feel to it.
And it's just a fun game.
El Chupa Macabre.
I always like sitting and play them. I played the first 2. The first one came out on PC and eventually ended up making it to the consoles, and I used to have it on the Sega Saturn. And then Riven got released on PlayStation and PC. That thing was multi-disc. I remember that thing being like 3 or 5 discs, CDs, which was huge for its time.
They love the multi-discs. You got your Final Fantasies and your Resident Evils all got to have 2 to 58 discs.
58's a little excessive, but there was...
You know it exists.
There was one of 57 discs, I think.
When you
57 and a half.
58 is just too much.
57 and a boomerang for free.
True. Like, when you think of like a game that pushed hardware or made a change, what comes to mind to you? What do you think of like when gaming's actually innovating or moving the market in a new way?
It's probably going to be a goofy ass choice, but the first thing that came to my mind when you said that was Star Fox for the Super NES because of that sweet, delicious
FX chip.
Yeah, FX chip is what it was.
Yeah.
All it did was make explosions better and make more noise and could hold 3D. Very, very poor 3D.
Had awesome music though.
Had fucking awesome music.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean,
thank you for listening to the acapella version.
Right. So guys listening, he's like, "Oh my god, that was Star Fox." Those guys are amazing.
I always think of like I always look at a game and I try to pinpoint exactly where they get their inspiration and stuff like that. Like, I mean, you can look at most jumpers and stuff like that and see Mario in them in some way or another.
That's why one of my favorite games to dissect is actually Shadow of the Colossus. Because you can tell there's a very obvious Zelda influence there, but it's almost so minute because the game has no similarities to Zelda, essentially.
Well, he is trying to save she's dying, isn't she?
She's dead.
She is dead.
She's dead, Jim.
But that's his
It's
goal.
life, Jim, but not as we know it.
Not as we know it. Not as we know it.
Well, in a way, you could say Zelda at times is...
I mean, even to that extent, Mario's the same damn thing. He's rescuing a princess,
Well,
too.
that would be an atmosphere. You're comparing the atmospheres. It's like...
Sorta.
It's mythical and mystical, and you have a lone young hero on a quest, and it feels kind of hazy, almost dreamlike to an extent.
Yeah. But, I mean, even the gameplay similarities there. You're a young boy with a sword on a horse. Go find some shit. That's it. The only thing is that there's really no shit to find. Yeah, that caught me off guard. It's kind of like a bottle cap unscrewing.
That's funny. But I look at Shadow of the Colossus, though, and it... You know, you mentioning Zelda, that's my first thought when I see him riding on the horses. That's Link with Epona.
And that's funny. That's what you think. I think old Zelda. Like Zelda 1, where you don't have a direction, you just go. Because that's what Shadow of the Colossus is. You have a waypoint if you want it, but if you just want to explore, the entire world is open to you from the very beginning. Go wherever the hell you want. You can find endgame Colossi early if you want to. It's a terrible idea to do so, but you can.
Well, that's kind of like the Breath of the Wild was like that too.
And that's where it comes full circle, because now Zelda is taking inspiration from Shadow of the Colossus. Even Twilight Princess took direct inspiration.
It's kind of weird too, because it's kind of weird because it's that chicken laying the egg, which is relaying the same. There's a lot of games that kind of push that. Even Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider was one of those games that everybody was inspired by, and then they remade it, and it looks like they took a lot of inspiration from other things, even the Nathan Drake games and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Some of that kind of folded back onto itself with the last few Tomb Raider games.
Like a Mobius strip.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
And it's kind of cool to see stuff like that happen. It's really smart for the developer to take that turn. When he sees a game come along that may be part of the inspiration for that, and he can take from that as well. And that's kind of why I argue with people when they bitch about like Xbox versus PlayStation or Nintendo versus PlayStation or whatever, because everyone's just like, no, this one sucks and it just needs to go away. I'm like, no, because this one's going to innovate something new, and the next console is going to do it despite the other console. It's going to...
All it can do is build on itself.
Right.
It's done to make money, but it works. I just feel that most developers don't really take full advantage of that sometimes.
It's kind of cool, too, though, that video games is the one market where, like, you can kind of steal from somebody else. Not necessarily steal, but use a mechanic. Use something else that somebody else has created. You do it your own way and put your own little flavor on it and move it forward. Kind of like the Batman and Assassin's Creed. Like, the Batman Arkham series and Assassin's Creed, they kind of had that same kind of combat feel to them. And of course, there was a bunch of other games that kind of took from that and spun off on that.
Yeah.
And, you get to a point where sometimes it's too much, though.
Mm-hmm.
And when is that too much? That's the question. When
After Arkham City.
That was probably a good call.
Honestly, I think for what you're saying, the best comparison will always be Mario to Sonic. Because the inspiration for Sonic came from the creator of Sonic, playing Mario, the first level, as fast as he could. And he said, okay, well, I want a game where the whole goal is to go fast. And then he made Sonic, which is a bullshit hard game because you can't fucking see where you're going and you're going too fast and shit's always in the way and you lose your goddamn...
But that's also the appeal of Sonic.
That sure as hell
Well,
kept
that
me
feeds
coming
back
back.
into what you're saying. It's one built upon the other. It called upon it on inspiration, but it
innovated. It did
innovated.
its own thing.
It changed it, and it became its own thing. Exactly. It became a new standard.
The goal wasn't, hey, now you jump on top of enemies. It's, hey, run as fast as you can. Just haul balls. Go hog wild.
But even Sonic has its points where
It forces you to slow down and
you
take
have to slow down, jump around a little bit, do a little bit of platforming.
Mm-hmm.
Try not to lose your rings. Don't lose your shit.
And that's when Sonic's at its poorest, to be honest.
I agree entirely. Sonic is at its best when you are going as fast as you can go.
And I love Sonic. I've always been a Sonic fan. But when he slows down and you've got to take those, like, you have to be decently precise when you do that. Because there's stuff that, like, he does move too fast. He does want to go fast. That sounds ridiculous. Like, well, this video game character that I'm using and moving around, he wants to go fast.
He wants to. I have to make him go.
Yeah.
He demands it of me. Look at him with his smug-ass fucking look on the box art.
Tapping his foot and waving his finger
I'll make
at
you
me.
go fast, motherfucker.
Who are you?
Snort some of this.
But, that...
We here at GamerDA do not condone illegal drug use.
We do, however, enjoy it.
It's kind of crazy, though, that's what can innovate a game, though, is one other game versus another game. Mm-hmm. And they're always going to push each other forward. And I liked what Phil Spencer said. Phil Spencer just recently posted that he sent the head, Jim Ryan, of the head of PlayStation, he sent him a congratulations saying, like, I enjoyed your show. I enjoyed your PS5 reveal. It's cool that you did that. He also said that he's pretty confident that they've got a better product this time. I mean, he said after watching PlayStation, he made the comment that he thinks that Xbox is in a really good spot. Mm-hmm. And come July, we're going to see that. We're going to see if he actually can hit his mark this time.
It's real hard to get unbiased information, especially in today's age. Mm-hmm. But so I'll get on YouTube, and of course there'll be channels I come across, and a lot of them are like, PlayStation is gonna nail it. They're gonna do this. Xbox is gonna go down in flames, and I'm just thinking, but are they? But are they really? I mean, the whole shutdown, and then the crisis, and then the protesting, and some of them devolved into riots, and the world's in total chaos. Per se, maybe it's just America. I don't know.
No, the world's
America.
well,
therefore, the world. There's a comma there.
right. With America, the Imperium. That's what I was trying to say. Anyway, long story short, it's just neither one of them, I think, are going to make quite the money they were hoping to, like in January.
Yeah, that's the thing.
When
this coronavirus thing started, people had government money to spend. They had time on their hands. What do you think they did with it?
I'm just thinking they're both going to kind of struggle, but everyone's forgetting Xbox's the Series X S, or is it the Series S?
Well,
I hate Xbox.
either way, we don't.
It's their slim model.
It's going to be their smaller model.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at launch. They're not going to wait a year after they release the original.
So it's going to be a lunchbox instead of a mini fridge.
We don't know 100% yet. It's all speculation.
Okay,
still.
okay. Then I should state that, yes.
Yeah, we don't know yet. They've not unveiled it, but there's a lot of, how should I put it? There's a lot of dirt being kicked around online saying that, it's coming. What we don't know yet is exactly the price of even the Series X, let alone what their smaller base model is going to be.
Right.
And just talking about speculation, because that's exactly what this is. It's all speculation.
It's all guesswork.
It's all guesswork, so don't take us to quote here.
The bank.
Correct. Like, they are stating that the Series S will do 4 teraflops, which is a third.
What the fuck's a T-flop? I'm just kidding.
It's a third of a good name.
So they're saying it's about a third of what
Lame.
we have now. But it's also going to have the chipset for ray tracing, and it's also going to have the processing power. It's just not going to have as powerful of a GPU in it as the Series X. Is that worth buying? Is that worth buying for some people? I mean, let's take out the cost effect of it. Let's not think about the cost of it. If you're showing up for next generation consoles and you've got one that's not as powerful, do you want that console?
What's on the console? What am I going to play on it?
Halo.
That's the
Forza.
thing. It depends on what games are coming out. The console itself is completely inconsequential to me.
Right, well, he's talking about you have a 9000 series model and then a 7000 series model. You already know, because the 9000 series starts with a 9, that it is, as electronics do.
It's obviously 2,000 more.
Well, I mean, it's the better model. Their top of the lines always have 9s. It's always a model or a Series 9 something.
But you've seen 2001. You know what happens to 9,000 models.
But I've also seen 2010. And I've read 2061 and I read 3001.
Look, Hal David 9000.
So
okay.
I know all about everything. I know about the moon. There ain't shit you don't know about the moon until you read 2001, okay?
I know there's a baby that floats through space that observes us and is kind of a god, but kind of impartial.
It's a space baby.
Where's my 2001 game? Damn it!
Well, we got off topic. I
Need to put it on Atari.
I like tacos.
But I'm just saying that's more for a tech junkie.
I got you, but
It depends on what are you wanting out of the system? Do you just want to be able to play the damn game, or do you want, 210 frames?
Here's Mark's point. You have 2 brand new Lamborghinis, but one of them has a smaller engine.
I want the Chevy.
Well, of course you would, because you always want to be fucking different and difficult.
And cheap.
There you go, though.
Fair expense.
That's an answer. That's a starting point, I should say. I wouldn't say it is the answer. But if the price is what matters to you when you go to buying a new console, let's say both of these, they both will drive 60 mile an hour down the road.
Okay.
One's just capable of driving a lot faster and looking a little bit cooler, but they both will perform the task at hand.
They'll both get you from A to B,
Yeah.
preferably without dying.
That really just comes down to the person, because I'll take the cheaper one because it does what I want it to do.
I was going to say, it would just come down to price.
Exactly. Well, the person.
And the speculation that's floating around is everyone saying that it's going to be closer to $199.
Uh-huh.
That's the same look that I've expected everyone to make whenever I say $199 for a new console.
Brand new, out of the gate, newest technology, ray tracing and all that, and they're going to sell you a cheaper model for $200.
Yeah, I'd do it. Without hesitation, I would take that.
And see, part of me thinks and that's all the speculation. Everybody I've looked at that has kind of covered this in some form has said $199. I don't know. That
seems really low to me.
That seems cheap.
That almost seems like undercutting on purpose.
Well,
You've heard of capitalism, right?
yeah.
I'm just saying they could have pulled that shit a lot sooner.
Well, I know. I agree. I agree. That comes down to price gouging and profit margins and all that shit.
The other thing that makes me think something
car parts do it all the time. Like, you go to AutoZone and they're like, "Oh yeah, we got this. You need an alternator for your car? We have it for $89.99." They probably paid $50 for it.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know? But if you go to Napa for the same alternator and they want to sell it to you for $79, they may have, odds are their supplier could have been lower and they paid $40 for it, or they could have too much stock, so they're trying to unload them, so they drop the price $10 to undercut the competition, and they're willing to lose a little bit of extra cash just to get rid of them.
They haven't released yet, Josh.
I was talking about alternators. Wait a minute, are you telling me the new Xbox is going to have an alternator in it? Woo!
Would you be surprised?
I would a little bit, yes.
But ultimately, though, if the cost was, I guess, if you knew that your current gen console that you have right now, your PS4, your Xbox One, if you know that they're going to go ahead and play the Series S/X or PS5 games, do you upgrade?
Don't ask me. I ain't the person asking this.
It's rhetorical for the most part.
It's rhetorical.
Exactly.
Like, do people upgrade? I could see people hanging onto their Xboxes and not flooding the or flooding out and buying the new Series X/S. But then again, people like new, people like shiny, people like that whole.
Look at iPhones.
Yeah.
Look at iPhones. People will get a new iPhone every year or every 8 months when a new one comes out because they just want what's new. They want the best of the best. I have to have that one. I have to have this new iPhone. But yours still works fine, right? Battery life is good. It runs all the apps correctly. Even I had to break that personally. I've had a Galaxy S5 for 3 years. That's the longest I've ever had a fucking cell phone.
You mean the longest they've ever lasted? I remember you came home with a fucking brand new white phone, went to work the next day and dropped it in gravel, and you were pissed.
Oh, that was a Droid, and it was all black. It was the I don't remember which one it was. It was in my upper pocket, in my because that's where when I used to wear my
black my TA.
No, it was I don't want to say the name of the company, but
Turtle Man.
Turtle Man. Anyway, I kept it in my upper pocket with my tiny wallet, and I reached up to do something, and it flew like, in my mind, 6,000 feet in the fucking air, and then came down lens first, and I was like, "It's okay."
Gundam shot it on its way down.
Right. A fucking Gundam shot it, plus a meteor hit it, and I remember just going, "It'll be fine. It's got Gorilla Glass on it," and then pick it up, it's just fucking spider webbed, and like, I've had this thing fucking 8 seconds, and it's already fucking ruined.
You got chimpanzee glass, not Gorilla
Glass.
And
that thing had like crazy battery life, and I couldn't turn it off. So it rang, and my alarm went off for like 4 days. Day and night, that thing was making noise, and I couldn't do anything about it. Couldn't turn it off. Couldn't do anything.
Yet I can't keep my phone on for 20 goddamn minutes to save my life.
I had my last phone. I had it for almost 3 years. It was the LG V30. That was a damn good phone. And like I said, almost 3 years is the length I had it. I used to be that guy that was like, well, 12, 18 months is up. Here we go.
Right.
New contract, baby. I'm not. I could care less now. I mean, I look at new phones and I see the features and stuff like that, but we're getting to a point now where it's just like, so you're telling me instead of having a 1440 screen, it's going to have a 4K screen on it, and it's still going to sit in my pocket, and it's going to run my battery down twice as fast.
I really believe it's a smaller. How can I word it? Most people are kind of like us, I think. The cost versus the technology. My phone still works fine. I have screen protectors which are cracked, but they're so bad that they're not so bad that I haven't replaced it. So it's had a cracked screen this whole time, which I could easily peel off and put a new one on.
Right.
But the cracks are so fine, it doesn't bother me, and the function is great. I've already put one battery in it. I mean, it still works just fine. So I'm not willing to drop another $200 for a phone. I have considered getting one that uses
USB-C.
USB-C.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of micro, and I'm trying to having to angle them and make sure it's all correct. There's just too much effort trying to charge my fucking phone.
I saw a meme. It's not entirely relevant, but it was about USB ports, and it's like the correct way to put in a USB port Tries it one way, wrong. Tries it the other way, wrong. Put it back. Correct.
That's exactly how it
first
fucking
fucking
goes.
way.
You always had it right to begin with.
Hate that.
Anyway, point is, most people don't fly through that stuff. I think it's a certain smaller percentage of the population that are just like, oh my god, I have to have the best. I have to have the best. I have to have the newest.
They're all Leos too.
That would be me. I'm
You're
a
a Leo?
Leo.
Yeah, that sounds about right then. That fits.
I've been aching for a new TV anyway. I mean, honestly, though, when I do go buy something, I don't like buying just the next thing. Like, when I went to buy a phone, I could have bought just a phone. But I shopped around. I made my money work for me the best that I could. And it was an expensive phone per se. But I made sure that I got it on a deal when I did buy my next phone. Which
Of course.
I'm rocking a Pixel 4 XL,
You're Ron Burgundy.
and I'm Ron Burgundy.
I buy whatever's under $100 because I don't care.
And that's fine. That's why there's that market for people like you.
Yeah, for cheap asses.
Well, I believe a vast majority of the population is that market.
Yeah,
Not my girlfriend.
but
I love you, honey.
I like my phone to
Oh
have.
shit, you got a text already. She heard. We haven't even released this yet. And she
I like my phone to have some features on it. Like, if I want to sit down and play an actual, like, emulated game, like, I can play Dreamcast on my phone.
Mm-hmm. I'm very guilty of that.
I mean, I've got stuff like that on my phone that, do I need it? No. Is it handy to have when I want it? Yes, it is. Like, we have to go to a children's hospital on Monday, and I'm going to be sitting in the parking lot because there's only one adult allowed in with a kid now.
Mm-hmm.
So what am I going to do with my free time? I can sit there and play YouTube videos or listen to
sleep.
music.
You
I
can huff
could
gas.
sleep. All that seems fine and all, but I can sit there and play video games on my phone, which is really cool.
classics that you love.
Yeah, that I've played probably 101 times already. But I'll play them 102 times. I don't
Well,
care.
there's something to that psychologically. It's a calming effect because you know what you're into. You know what you're into. Blah. I'll learn to talk one day. You know what you're getting into.
Right.
You played the game before. You may even try speedrunning a little bit.
Speedrunning is one of those things that's lost on me a little bit. I think it's badass. I loved watching someone speedrun the original Castlevania. That is probably one of my favorite games to watch someone
We got
speedrun.
some shit to show you.
That's kind of
Before we
ironic.
leave.
It's a bit ironic that yes, you're gonna love this, but it's a bit ironic that you pick Castlevania because Castlevania, in comparison to some games, is slow as hell.
Yes. And that's why I love watching speedrun, because it is a slow game. Like, I remember sitting down as a kid and like, God, this game is long, thinking how long it was. But I watch a speedrunner do it and I'm like, he
Beats
just
it
beat
in
the
10
whole
minutes, yeah.
Yeah, he beat the whole damn game in 10 minutes, and I'm like, but then again, he knows the perfect timing to jump to here to there. Like, he jumps on an enemy that's not fully spawned into the screen that
But he knows
bounces
it's
him up
coming.
on a ledge. Like, he knows every step of everything to get there, and he knows if I hit him at the right place, he's going to knock me up to the ledge that I need to be on, which I can run over here, and it's just like, holy shit.
Sweet, delicious damage boosting.
Yeah.
I am huge into the speedrunning scene. Like, people listen to podcasts to go to sleep, or Bob Ross or whatever. I watch speedruns to go to sleep. And there is some insane shit people can pull off. I sincerely think that Super Metroid is probably the best speedrunning game just to watch.
It's neat because we've all played it, and and some of us longer than others, whatever. But you'll be watching the speed run, and you'll be like, "Oh, I remember this room. Oh my god!" And what you remember is all the times you fucking died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this guy goes in the door, out the door, and you're like, "I was in that room for 2 fucking hours one time." Just trying to get to the other fucking door, and this guy used because he would wall jump in a room where you need the Various suit and just skip shit. He'd come out that door, jump up the wall, and go through another door, and then get whatever item he needed. And sometimes he wouldn't need the Various suit because my roommate Andy back in the Army showed me all this, because that was the first time this was 2001, something like that. So this is the first time I was ever introduced to speedrunning. Besides the way I would speedrun Mario. or Mario 3, I would try to go and use the warp whistles and just get to the end as fast as possible. But there was never any precision to it. I was just fucking around.
Yeah.
And he can wall jump. I still can't wall jump.
I don't blame you.
Like, I can get halfway up there, and then I miss my timing up, and then I fall back down to the bottom. And I just can't do it. And Andy could do it perfectly.
Love it.
He can do it perfectly. Every time. So.
And that's one thing that I started to get into speedrunning. I really, really wanted to speedrun Resident Evil Remake. But, and I got my time below 2 hours. I can't remember exactly what it was. I got my time below 2 hours, but I started playing it so much and so frequently that I started to not care about the game anymore. And to me, that's just the worst thing. I want to enjoy what I'm doing.
Does that game, was it an actual, basically what I'm trying to figure out is that just putting more lipstick on the pig? Did they actually...
Oh, that game is top to bottom brand fucking new.
I kind of wondered that, because every time I've seen anything of RE, the original Resident Evil, it definitely doesn't look as good as 2 or 3. Those remakes. But I kind of wondered what Resident Evil Remake actually was.
It's funny you mention that, because I actually think Resident Evil Remake from 2002 looks better than most modern games, maybe even including the remakes of 2 and 3.
You're talking about the GameCube version, then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I had that one.
That one I've got. I own that game. I thought... Because, see, when on PlayStation 4, they've actually re-released Resident Evil Remake on it.
Yeah, that is a new coat of paint.
Okay.
That is new lipstick on the pig, as you put it.
That makes sense.
And in fact, it turns out the damn thing is 8 gigs. Wow. I'm glad that extra lighting for static backgrounds was worth it.
Well, there are more... It isn't just that. They do increase resolution.
Right.
And they do add a widescreen mode, and they give you new control alternatives, but there's no new weapons. There's 2 new costumes, I'll give them that. You can choose your costumes from the beginning instead of having to beat the game first. And the achievements that they added are actually really easy to get. Like, for the ending achievements... It takes no time at all to get all 6 endings in the game.
So is there no... Like, you can disable tank mode, then?
Yes.
The tank controls?
You can go with an actual functioning fucking control scheme. I prefer tank controls because that's what I was used to.
Right.
But for someone who... See, when speedrunners run the game, they don't use tank controls. Because the way the alternate controls work... Fuck you, too.
You're always getting interrupted by something in this app.
I know. Sick of hearing me talk. The way the alternate controls work is if you push a direction, you go that direction. And the game is always set on run. You don't have to push a button and move at the same time to run. So what they will do is they will go up to the zombie and then they'll juke it. They'll just hit the back button or hit back. And then bam, the zombie lunges, they can just run right around it. You can do that in tank controls, but it's a bitch and you will most likely get caught.
Well, then here's...
For the average player, but...
Even for me. I suck at it.
I kind of wonder...
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're fine.
When they speedrun, are there rules? Or is there, like, set rules, like you have to have all this turned on, or if you change it, it counts into your run?
If we're talking personally, like, you pick the rules you want. You just set the level to challenge to what kind of challenge you want. But in GDQ, you can... if the game's done quick things, you can actually donate towards a certain set of rules. Like, say we're going Super Metroid, you can do all bosses. You can do all bosses in reverse order. You can do 100% of the game, collect every item. You can do any percent, which is go through the game as fast as you can, to hell with everything. Just go. Like, an any percent run in Mario is down below 5 minutes. You can get from level 1 to killing Bowser in level 8, World 8, in less than 5 minutes.
Right.
So
I thought it was faster than that. But I get your point.
Yeah.
Is that with no warps, or is that all warps?
That's all warp.
Okay.
With no warps, it's probably closer to 25 minutes, something like that.
See, I always kind of wonder about stuff like that because, like, you know, it's really like, well, even Mario and Mario 3. You've got warp whistles in 3. You've got the the Mushroom Cloud place that you can hop into on the original Mario Brothers. Like, not all games have that, leaping forward. Mm-hmm. So I kind of wonder how many people find stuff like that in a lot of games. But I know, like you're talking about with the zombies, where they juke and make them miss them completely, the lunge and juke.
Yeah.
Like, how much of it is stuff like that, finding an exploit, which most of it is, it's finding the exploits in the game.
That's pretty much all speedrunning is, it's just finding the fastest way to beat the game using the game's mechanics against itself.
I remember the first speedrun I saw for Mario 64, you had to chase a rabbit, and you had to chase it through a certain hallway, and then you had to run backwards against a wall. I'm completely...
Okay, the thing is, what you're describing wasn't really a thing back then. That is TASing, tool-assisted speedrun. That's where you program a computer to play the game with the most precise movements imaginable.
No. This is not what I'm talking about. This was an exploit where the guy was able to phase through the wall and then drop down into a tunnel and took him straight to Bowser.
I'm about 90% sure that was a TAS.
I don't know.
I do
actually know the rabbit you're talking about.
This was a long time ago.
Yeah, I know. And I know the rabbit you're talking about. It's in the hallway.
Downstairs?
Yeah.
Right.
Right next to Lava Land or whatever. Lethal Lava Land.
I'll be honest, I didn't play 64 Mario.
Really?
I didn't give two fucks about it.
God, you suck.
I give two shits about it still.
Man.
I know a lot of people love it, and that's fine. Love it all you want. I just don't play it.
It was...
Like Elite Dangerous.
Fuck off.
Mario 64 was like that leap into the beyond for me. Like, I will remember forever the first time I played Mario 64. It was in Lawrence's living room. I stayed the night with Lawrence. We pooled our money together, rented a Nintendo 64 the day that it came out. Like, Lawrence went in there and was like, will you ask the lady to hold him a Nintendo 64 when it came in? And we spent that night playing Mario 64 and, like, seeing Nessie, the big... the sea monster or whatever it is, and swimming around in that. Like, I will never forget that because that game showed me what video game size could really do. Looking at it now, it doesn't look that great.
I gotcha.
I mean, it's just a polygon, it is what it is. But at its core, that game did more for me my first time seeing it than, seeing Super Mario World or the first time, even Ocarina of Time. It did more for me than Ocarina of Time did. And Ocarina of Time is probably one of my favorites of all time. But Mario 64 let me know, like, this is where gaming was going. It was that first look. Even Crash Bandicoot, if you look at it, looks almost better than Mario 64.
Until you play the damn thing and see how hard it is.
Well, that's true. But the character model itself looks more detailed. The world that he's running through and the jungle that he's running through is more dense. It's more... It's better detailed, I should say. For the crates, the running, the rock that's coming, everything like that. It actually is a better, quote-unquote, looking game. But Mario 64 made you feel like you were in a world.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the bit that you sort of neglected to mention is the gameplay aspect.
Right.
Crash Bandicoot, you run in a straight line. They can afford to make everything perfect.
That's my point.
Mario 64, they have huge 3D worlds. Well,
right.
Huge for the time. and I see that's the point you were getting at, is that,
It was a world building
well
experience.
I know, I'm great.
Without Mario 64, do we get Ocarina of Time? Do we get the open world that we had? Do we get Skyrim? I'm sure we would. I mean, at the time, PC gaming was going different places too in that area, but like Mario kind of let you stand on top of the mountain and look around. That was kind of the thing. And I'll always think about Mario being that game that started that. I'm sure there was other games that did it first, but Mario was just the one that sticks out to me.
The one that you ran into.
To be honest, I don't know that other games did it first. I think Mario was one of the very first fully 3D worlds that I know of, that you could go anywhere you wanted and just look.
What game? Can you think of a game that makes you sit down and think like, this is the first of, or this is like the beginning of something? Like, do you have a game that you think about like that?
Kinda. I would argue Ocarina of Time, but I would also put Star Fox in that same category, because to me, those two are intertwined. They are the same. They might as well be the same fucking game to me, because they're just that ingrained in my childhood and memories that I can't not think of them together.
Do you have anything that you can just...
Is Elite Dangerous?
No. Mine would be, I think...
You turkey.
Maybe Halo Combat Evolved. Now, once again, another game may have done it first, but Halo forced you to only choose between two weapons.
Once again, I think Halo started that.
That's what I mean. That was because I remember no other game, every other shooter, always you just collected guns, and then you had them, and then you had to collect ammo for them.
Right.
GoldenEye, Turok, and those are mainly the two. So Halo for that, and then Halo also really introduced story. They made story forefront in your gameplay. And then you had Cortana talking to you, and you would pick up bits of lore, and you could understand the universe. And she was your...
And this was all in-game.
It was all in-game.
While you're kicking ass, there are Marines talking to you, telling you the story. You have Cortana picking up bits of information, hacking into servers, things you don't see, but are happening while you're playing.
And then what'd you do in GoldenEye? You ran around and you shot guys.
And you fucking killed Natalia over and over.
I mean, because she's stupid.
She is so stupid.
She's
AI
the worst.
in that game.
She's the worst programmed AI to ever exist.
The enemy AI is so good in that game because they can roll, they can dodge, they can react to where you shoot them. Natalia is stupid.
Now see, and then GoldenEye, I would say that would be one of those because the AI could react that way. I also learned about the programming. The AI, you may have a guard that's at the other end of the level, but if you do something that makes noise and alerts him, that's why there's so many guards in the game, because those guards in a distance can make clones of themselves. And then that clone appears near you to investigate what's going on.
That's kind of cool, actually.
That's why once you go through and clear the level out, you don't spawn any more enemies, because you killed the original. But earlier in the game, the office or the archives one, where you're in the interrogation room...
Oh, I hate that level. Library.
You have to
archives, yeah.
Yeah, you have to escape, right? If you stay in that room... wave upon wave of guard will continue to check on you because all the guards in the level are spawning clones to come investigate what's going on.
That's kind of clever.
Yeah, the AI in GoldenEye was way advanced for its time. So, and then Turok, when you pulled out the rocket launcher, and when it locked on, the monsters would, instead of continue to attack, some of them would run away. They'd go, oh shit! And they'd run away with their arms flailing.
Turok
like
2, yep.
Yeah, like they were a cartoon character of themselves.
Even to continue with that, Turok 2, you could blow their fucking heads off. You could take body parts off.
Yep. You could dismember.
Some enemies you could damage to a point where they would self-destruct. They would try and take you out with them.
Yep.
There is so much good AI in those early games that they don't really capitalize on anymore.
There's one thing, too, that I don't think people talk about as much on Halo, but the way Halo was structured, it was not structured like any other game before it. You did not have a boss. You did not have, like... It didn't feel like you were going from, like, level to level. And that's the way a lot of those games are. Like, oh, I got past the boss on this area. Now, even games that were open world, you still felt like you were like, okay, I left that area, I beat that boss, that was the checkpoint for that level.
Right.
That was the end of that level. Where Halo didn't do that. Halo was just like, I'm the Master Chief, I'm continuing this journey. It felt like a journey all the way through from point A to point B, the end.
And then your journey also would take you back to places you'd already been to. And then you're coming back from the opposite direction that you came through before, and everything, the dynamic of that area has changed because you've already been through it.
Right. Could you imagine if you had to go through the library twice in Halo 1?
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah, no shit.
But no, I'm glad you mentioned that. Because
we all got a overwhelming fear of dread, and we started having fucking flashbacks.
But this time there's
This was a
Covenant
happy
2.
podcast, and then Forrest had to depress us.
You had to ruin it. Honestly, over time, the library became one of my favorite levels.
Design-wise, I think it is my favorite. I love Forerunner architecture.
Pretty neat.
But I'm glad you mentioned the whole... it doesn't feel like a level-to-level system, because the very first time I ever played Halo 1, I played through the first level, and then the cutscene happens, and you crash land on Halo, and then you play through Halo, and then you go to Truth and Reconciliation. And Truth and Reconciliation, I quit out, and I'm like, God damn, how long is this first level?
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't realize I was 3 levels in.
Yeah.
Because there was no huge, like,
There was no cue.
defining factor. Yeah, there was no cue
Right.
that's like, okay. I mean, there's a cutscene that shows you what's going on, but it's not like, now loading, Halo, the level.
Halo's gameplay design, and this was stated, one of the documentaries I watched, repeated situations, because you would have a firefight, 2 grunts and an elite. Oh, I beat an elite. That part's over. Now you would continue that, and through the game they just increase the difficulty. And then what'd they do? Next thing you know, you had Flood fighting the Covenant. Now you were in the middle, you were in the crossfire of 2 other people fucking fighting each other, and you're like, I don't know what to do. Am I supposed to not fight one? What's going on? I mean,
The level keys, yeah.
I'm just being silly on it.
No,
you
no,
know?
but you're Halo 2 took it a step farther when the brutes and the elites are fighting, because you're like, I know that for all intents and purposes the elites are the victims here, but I've done nothing this whole franchise but kill them.
Right.
What do I do? Whose side? Who is on whose side?
But at that point, you're on high charity. You're just trying to get to the end of the game. So it's and they're trying to kill you anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because they're still trying to fucking kill
Right.
you.
It's not until Halo 3 and that was a big surprise, because Halo 3, you're running through, and out of nowhere, you're like, the Flood's attacking, and you're like, okay, and then out of nowhere, fucking elites drop down, and they're like, follow us, and you're like,
what is happening?
okay. You know, they're not killing me, and they're green when I target them, so they're obviously allies.
Going back to Halo 2, even the final level, which again I didn't realize was the final level until after I'd beaten the game, you get hunters on your side. Mm-hmm. And throughout the first 2 games, hunters are the fucking hype trains.
Right.
They're the closest things to boss fights. 2 big, tanky motherfuckers with shields that can knock your ass sky
Right.
high are on your side. Do what you please.
I got you.
It's like having a boss on your side. I love it.
That was kind of like when Halo 4 came out. Like, when Halo 4 came out, it was kind of, I don't know. Bungie had pulled away then, and it was 343 Studios doing
Right.
it. And there was that part of me that I didn't want to play. I didn't buy Halo 4. I never did. I never bought Halo 4. I wasn't
For you, the
until,
story was over.
yeah, 3 finished it good, and of course Master Chief was left adrift. But like, when I think of Halo, it's the trilogy. It's 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
I agree.
And when 4 came out, it kind of, I don't know, it felt like it's the search for more money,
Right.
It was that, as we,
And it was. No lie. You're absolutely correct.
but it still is one of those.
They did good with 4 because they evolved the combat into a point where the original Halos kill the grunts first before you go after the elites. Mm-hmm. They're easy to kill.
There's a system.
There's a system. And that was why Halo was so good, because every time you came into a new firefight, you had to analyze the battlefield, and you say, all right, I got to kill the grunts first, then the jackals, then the elites, and then the hunters.
And you know what made Halo 1 so good? You did all of that without thinking.
You just did it naturally.
It was just natural.
And you knew. And you repeated the process. So it was almost like every battle was a speed run of the previous battle.
Yes.
To an extent.
Kind of.
And then on different levels, like Assault on the Control Room, you get near the end, and next thing you know, you're stuck in a small room with 2 hunters.
Yeah.
And the only ammo available is for a pistol and a sniper rifle. Mm-hmm. So you're like, well, now what do I do?
You wait for him to turn around and 2 shots, bam.
Well, I got you.
That actually kind of bothers me, though.
How easy? Once everyone figured out how to kill hunters easily, but that was the excitement, because you had this armored fucking monster coming at you. All you had to do was step back, and when he swung his arm up, you shoot him in the gut with 1 bullet in the pistol, and he's fucking down. But if you fucked up, you paid for it.
You paid bad.
You were punished.
Halo 1 had some mean fucking hunters.
So the game taught you how to play it. And I'm not saying not other games didn't do that, but it just, when it comes to a first-person shooter perspective,
I would argue that no other game has done it so successfully. Even the other Halo games have not been quite so excellent in their presentation of tutorial. Yeah, there's a couple button prompts, but the game you're left to figure out. The game never tells you that you have to use plasma on shields and bullets on living targets.
Right.
But that's how it should be done. I think games are missing that too.
Well, I mean, pushing forward with the Halo series, putting it into 4 and 5 and now Infinite, like, Halo has gotten to a point where if you go back and play it, it's still really good. But as they go forward, like, comparing it to other games, it's really hard to play Halo for me.
Okay.
And I think a lot of it is
we're
because...
take it personal. Gotcha.
Right. Well, look at...
No, I'm just saying his personal perspective.
4 and 5, I'm not saying they're bad games at all.
Right.
I enjoyed playing them with friends. They were fun in that regard. But when you compare them to other shooters today, like, well, and I've talked about it to no length, but Bungie's Destiny. Mm-hmm. Bungie's Destiny is what Halo should have evolved into. Being able to look down your scope, being able to transition into new weapons and stuff like that.
Which they did add in 5.
Right. But it didn't feel as good as it does in...
Well, it almost felt disingenuous because by the time 5 came out, every other shooter had been doing that for 8 years.
Yes, exactly.
So it was like, it just took them so long to adapt what we consider the new norm.
Right.
And if that's the case, why even adapt it? Why not create your own new system?
Why not adapt? Yeah.
Right. Why not do something? If you're going to wait that long, you might as well try to innovate something different.
And we do. It's not like Halo's coming out every 2 years. They're not Call of Duty in it or anything like that.
Right. Copy and paste.
Right. So, I mean, I kind of understand it in one end, but on the other, it's just kind of... It's miss a little bit for me in that aspect.
I just feel that the new Halo games are misguided. There's a greater emphasis on the story, but the story leads to basically nothing, in my opinion. And then there's a greater focus on the multiplayer, which is fine. Halo has always been known for its multiplayer, but at the cost of something. I can't even identify what it is, but Halo 4 and 5 feel like they're missing something to me.
Go ahead.
Halo 1 through 3, Reach, ODST, all those games felt like a world. Mm-hmm. Or correction, a galaxy or a universe that you were in. When Halo 4 came out and even Halo 5, there was so much that was glossy. There was so much that looked like you were trying to push the envelope with graphics that it lost the appeal for me because Halo is gritty. Halo, were... Even as Master Chief's suit changed, you could still see like the damage on his suit in 2.
Mm-hmm. And in 3, you could see the battle scars from Halo 2.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think that Reach nailed it because there was no clean piece of armor in that game.
Exactly.
Everything has a scratch or a dent, and you can't do a fucking thing about it. But in Halo 4, everything is... It's like George Lucas's concept of a used future. You know, up to that point, everything was Battlestar Galactica. It was all clean and white and pristine and beautiful. But Star Wars, the Millennium Falcon's falling apart.
Right.
It's a hunk of junk.
Right. It's like what a real person would drive if it was a car. It's a jalopy.
It can be fast as hell and fall apart at the same time.
Well, it's a sleeper. Mm-hmm. It's like a sleeper car. Someone pulls up in this like a old minivan, and you're like, oh, it can't go bad, or it's not fast. And you're like, what do you got in it? Oh, well, I put a supercharged 500 big block in it, so, I mean, she's pretty peppy for a minivan. Mm-hmm. And then you get your ass smoked by a fucking minivan.
She's only spooling 1,000 horses.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's a sleeper.
I was going for 12.
The Millennium Falcon is most definitely, in his words, one of the fastest ships in the universe.
The fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
And that's part of what Halo
He put all his money into the engine, the hyperdrive, which would be the second most important thing you need. He's just like, I got duct tape, baling wire, and chewing gum. Mm-hmm. I can make this work.
MacGyver that shit.
He's got a fish and a cigarette and a cassette tape, and he's like, I can do this.
Box of crayons. But anyway.
But even like the enemy,
Prometheans.
Prometheans. Even fighting them, like every enemy that you have fought in Halo, yeah, sure, the Covenant had shiny armor, but they still felt like there were creatures inside that armor. They felt like you were combating something. The other creatures that you fight in Halo 5, they're all shiny. They look plasticky almost.
Right, I can see that.
And it just doesn't feel like a lived-in... it doesn't feel like a lived-in universe anymore. And that's why when I'm watching Infinite's trailers, or trailer, I should say,
Yeah.
it feels like they're trying to maybe get back to
Right.
a lived-in world.
Well, there's that teaser where the dude finds Chief in his Pelican, and he's hooked up all the cables to him, and the Marine pilot that's trying to reboot Chief or whatever it is he's doing, because we don't know either. We don't know.
Yeah, we have no
We're
clue
in the
what
dark
hell's
too.
going on.
But I mean, like you say, the ship is lived in. There's trash everywhere because he's been living in a floating spaceship for God knows how long. But I mean, whatever.
No, I do agree. Halo Infinite looks like it's at least trying to be a Halo game, as bad as that sounds.
I don't know what it is. Is it going to be open world?
I hope not.
That's what I get from because there's that trailer where it shows debris in the background. You can see the Halo shape up on the distance, and it just shows like Chief driving and some Marines in a Warthog, and then the camera keeps pulling back and keeps pulling back and keeps pulling back.
It's like Halo Reach. Go outside the canyon.
I don't know. I feel like it's going to be Skyrim, but Halo.
That would be a terrible idea.
Maybe.
What if they're taking it the Destiny route? That could be another option.
That's what I'm getting at. Maybe. If Halo became full circle and it turned out more like Destiny, and instead of Sparrows you get to drive your Warthog around or a tank or whatever. Like if it came full circle and you were able to do online multiplayer together like that, for guys like Josh and I, of course you wouldn't be down for that, but
Not especially. I just don't like the online only format. Like, I've gotten into Dead by Daylight recently, but that's a whole new thing.
right. But and I'm not saying you make Halo Destiny, because that would not be fun. That wouldn't be Halo. I mean, that would just be silly. But having an open world like Skyrim wouldn't be the worst idea. I'm not saying that it would work 100%, but where else can they take Halo now?
right.
I'll put it to you this way. Halo is known best for its moments. And a lot of those moments happen in-game, but it's a little difficult to pull a bomb out of a ship, drop it into another ship, and then kick away from it in zero gravity in-game.
I'm not... Well...
I'm just saying that it would be difficult to do a Destiny-like game like that without having the big Halo moments.
But original Halo, if you think about that game, the way that it transitions and moves and puts you through the different sectors and brings you through stuff, maybe we've already played an open world Halo, and being on a giant ring like that is exactly what that would almost be like anyway.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, that,
Infinite circle. That's kind of cool though. I'm gonna because we're thinking about that. Never occurred to me.
Yeah.
I know I'm rambling, but thinking about that because you have Skyrim and it's open world, but it's just the one map and it's just flat and land. But
Halo is literally a ring to explore.
could you imagine taking a Warthog on the edge of the Halo ring and then just driving in a circle infinitely until you? Oh my God! We figured it out. We figured it out.
What would be really cool is if they figure out a way for you to take one of the airlift, the evac ships, what are they called?
Pelicans.
The Pelicans, and go across
Fly
the
across.
ring and save you half the distance.
Uh-huh.
That would be cool too.
Or if you're Chief, just jump. Fly like Superman or Iron Man across the vast distance.
I would be down for something like that. Even since the first Halo, I've wanted to just go along the ring and see where it takes me.
It's a circle. It's infinity. Halo Infinite.
I got what you were going
I'm sorry. It just bugged. Like, I had never thought about it. I was like, Halo Infinite, that's a stupid fucking name for a game. And then here we are sitting here actually putting conjecture into it, and I'm going, oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't want to sacrifice the big... I I want cutscenes. I want big kick-ass cutscenes.
And then doesn't mean that you couldn't. Even Skyrim had its moments where you could.
Destiny has cutscenes.
Yeah.
Destiny 2 has cutscenes.
No, I know. Well, I don't know about Part 2. I haven't seen anything of it. But I don't know. And I want to be able to go other places besides the ring and not just Forerunner technology. I want to go onto a Covenant cruiser, and maybe you could.
Well, if...
I want to go to the planet that this ring is orbiting.
Okay, so here's Destiny, and you've played it. Mm-hmm. You know you can go to your destinations, and you can pick a planet or a moon, and you can go there, and then that map or moon has its own little contained world.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take it a step further where... How big is Skyrim's map?
Not big enough. It's like 16 square miles or some shit.
Right. So now imagine Halo, where you go to Earth, and now you are in 16 miles of a map, and then you go to a Halo, you go to Installation 04, or you go to Installation 07 or something. You got 25 square miles of Halo because you can travel the entire circumference of the ring. And then you can go to a Covenant, you can go to High Charity.
I get that, but I don't want to be like collecting bounties or any. I don't want Destiny gameplay in my Halo.
I understand,
but it doesn't have to be. Think about the original Halo.
I agree. That's why I like where this conversation's going. I don't mind that it could be a big open world. I actually really like the idea that you could do what you want to do in a fucking Halo game for once. That would be nice.
Right.
I just don't want it to be sacrificed for modern gameplay. I want old Halo with a hell of a new coat of paint. That's all.
So you want Halo Combat Evolved or Halo 2 or Halo 3. You want that style gameplay. And I guess that's what I'm kind of going at, where each map is its own contained story.
Yes. Now that's another thing. Its own contained story is one thing. But I don't want it to be like, oh, well, I was just on the Halo ring, so I can go to Earth. But I'm bored of doing stuff on Earth, so I'll go back to the ring.
Right.
No, I want the story to push you forward, to take you where you need to go. But you can enjoy what you want while you're there.
And you could.
And you could. It can be done.
It can be done. You realize this is kind of the funny part. He's the young one of us.
Right.
And he talks like the old curmudgeon of the group.
This is entirely true.
Get off my lawn! I want my game as contained as it can be. Don't be giving me no open worlds. Blasphemy.
You want to put a couple cavemen hiding up in there like an Easter egg, make an achievement when I find it, that's great. But I don't want no gameplay revolving around finding them, okay?
Hidden skulls anywhere in the world? I don't think so.
I disagree. I think that would be fucking great, actually. Maybe even randomized skulls.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, put them out there. Let them fucking find them.
That would be a great thing. What I'm saying is, I think I finally narrowed it down. I want story. And I want good story, and I want it to drive where you go.
And I know, because I've been getting into Destiny 2 finally. I'm starting to play it. I understand it a little better. I'm actually having kind of some fun playing it. But it is lacking the story. It has a campaign missions.
Exactly.
But there's nothing that tells me, like, you should really go do the story because you get special armor, bonus loot. You get higher rewards for doing the story for the first time.
It's kind of like, let's say that you go to a steakhouse and they put out this big smorgasbord and the steak is kind of off to the side. And you don't really notice the steak so much. But the steak is what you really should be going to get. But yet there's all this other shit there and it just kind of gets lost in there.
Right.
You're just making me hungry.
And honestly, you just keep looking and you're like, I guess I'll eat some of this over here, and I'll try the mashed potatoes.
But by the time you get to the steak, it's kind of cold.
Yeah, and then by the time you realize, oh shit, there's steak. It's too much. Destiny 2 sometimes is just too much.
That's every trip to Ryan's ever for me.
They give you too many. You can do your patrols, you can do your bounties, you can do your weekly bounties, you can do your monthly, you can do strikes, you can do raids, and you can be one of them players. I know that. Oh, Cassandra's brother, he plays all the time. Elza, he plays all the time. But
I used to play with him back in the day. Yeah.
Nine times out of 10, all he does is he plays the character till he's powerful enough to do raids, and then he just only does raids. And he might not play during the week, but he knows that his friends are going to play on Saturday, and they're going to do raids. And that's what they do. They get up, they do the raids, they have fun. But he plays generally all week. I'm taking a step back from video games. I played Thursday for an hour and Friday for 2 hours, and that's it. I didn't play the rest of the week. I got other shit I need to do.
You know, I don't know. I really am the old curmudgeon out of all of us. I don't want raids or random loot drops or random number generation of any kind in my Halo game, because that's never been there and it has no place being there. And I was just thinking, though, a Star Wars game in the style of Destiny would be fucking phenomenal.
And it could be. But, like, I understand, like, that's the one thing we don't want. We don't want Destiny eking in and taking, you know, and it wouldn't. Bungie's not there anymore. 343 Studios definitely has been very hard on the case, saying we are our own thing.
That is what I do appreciate. No matter whether we agree with their destination or not, they definitely have the good mindset of, we need to do our own thing. We're not Bungie. We need to outdo Bungie.
Halo 4, its bonus content was built around your multiplayer character's armor customization. Mm-hmm. But you didn't get those items from loot drops. You got them by achieving either achievements or mission milestones.
I agree. No. I'm just saying...
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Good. It's about don't fucking hit me.
I agree with you.
I'm just trying to clarify.
As I hit you.
I agree with you. Now eat my fist. That's what I'm saying. I don't want... If they could do something similar to Destiny, improve upon it, and make it to where I don't have to play through a raid 3, 4, 10 times to get the item I want, because the item I want, I may not even know what item I want. I just know that I'm going to do this thing here, and I'm going to receive a loot drop. Not a loot drop. I'm going to receive an item reward.
What would you want as an item reward in a Halo game?
Well, the armor customization.
So would you want it for multiplayer or single player?
Well, I would like it for Reach, where it's in both. That's what I meant.
That'd be pretty sweet. You know what? Screw it. Why not give Master Chief some new armor? I know they gave him his old armor back, which is almost redundant, but I'm not complaining.
Reach was able to get away with it because you weren't Chief.
Exactly. You were your own Spartan.
Right. You were your own thing. But in Halo 4, it could be your multiplayer
6
character. Yeah. No, 4.
5.
I'm talking about what? And I'm talking about the past.
3.
These already happened. Numbers!
You know,
when will then be now?
Soon.
It begs me, you know, like, I will always draw a comparison between Destiny and Halo, of course, because Bungie created both of these. And there is living proof that Destiny was what Halo Online was going to be, or Halo, the MMO Halo. Part of that was going to be, because there's evidence in Bungie's last games, like Halo 3. There's a trailer or a poster or something in there that says Destiny.
ODST is what it was.
That's it.
Yep.
You hit it. And I think the reason why Destiny is such a good game, and the reason that people get drawn into it, like Elza, it does really good what a lot of games don't, and that is camaraderie. Like, you want to join your friends.
Right.
It brings you guys together to do something together.
I played, I'm going to interrupt and interject. I played for like an hour and a half this morning while Trayton was still asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Nessus. I was just fucking around. And I came across a public event, which I had not done, because I'm just now getting into the game a little bit. So I was doing it, and I died while doing it. Out of the fucking blue, another dude showed up and revived me. And I'm like, we're into this together now, buddy.
Right.
Let's do this.
And that's one of those things that, like you've not talked to him. You don't know his headset.
I don't know who he is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But he ultimately wants the same thing that you want. He wants to defeat this thing. And if reviving you gets him what he needs because he needs your help, then vice versa. You know what I mean? And that's what Destiny does. It makes you not feel alone while you're playing a video game.
And I did the same thing. There was a big battle going on, and I was like, I don't even know what this is, but that guy's down. And I jumped in and revived him, and then as soon as he came back to life, I was fucking dead, because something the silliness about it is there was so much going on during the public event. There's explosions, there's like a mining drill, and there's like lasers coming down, and people are dying everywhere, and I have no idea what's going on. But I just ran up to him and fucking revived him, and then instantly there was an explosion, and I died. But he was still alive. So I just came in, I fucking helped him, and then I helped him beat it. Not that he needed me, because he was like, I don't know, God level.
Well, and that's ultimately the best part about Destiny is you feel it gives you something to be a part of. It makes you feel like you're in this big universe, this big
Community,
world,
almost.
the big community, exactly. And that's why Destiny is as popular as it is, and that's why people keep playing. And that's why I played it, for the first one, I played for years.
Right.
I played up until 2 came out. And it was all because it's just that. You could get in a fire team of 3 and do your strike missions and stuff like that. And then once you got done with that, you could team up with the rest of your friends and you guys could go pull off a raid together. And the first time you start pulling off a raid together and figuring out shit and going through all the stuff, and usually there's one, you basically have a tour guide.
One guy who's been through it like 600 times.
Yeah, one guy who knows the raid better than everybody else. Or knows the raid and everybody else doesn't. That's whenever the game becomes at its greatest. It's not... The shooting is phenomenal. The shooting is fun. But the level design, all that other stuff, it's all second wind until you get to that point where you're playing with your friends.
So you're saying the meat and potatoes of the game is the co-op, especially with strikes and raids.
Yes, the camaraderie of being able to tackle things with people getting flustered, be like, oh, fuck, run. That's my favorite part of Destiny. That's what draws me in. And I've got the bug again. We've just mentioned playing Destiny, and now all of a sudden I'm bucking balls deep back in again. And
I did the same thing with Elite. I didn't play it for a year and a half, hardly.
And I keep promising you I'll play Elite with you, and I'm like, hey, man, I'm play this little Destiny 2 game.
Yeah, but it's fine. I don't mind. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, even because Ed started playing Elite, and he jumped on, and he sent me a message, and all it said was, help, and 1,000 exclamation points. Because for those who don't know, that game is super technical because it's a space simulation. It's not a space shoot 'em up.
It is a simulation in the most simulation-y fucking sense, too.
Yeah.
Having watched
So,
plenty
but
of it.
anyway, and he's like, so I joined a party with him, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's like, how do I fucking get this ship off the fucking ground? What do I do? You know, so I was like, let's go through the basics. And I had no problem teaching him. And
You're that little paperclip in fucking Microsoft.
yeah, exactly. Except I'm not as annoying.
Dino DNA.
But anyway, I never asked him to play at all. I never even once considered asking Ed to play because Ed's been playing shooters for so long. Mm-hmm. But he brought up the fact, he goes, don't you remember that one we used to play? But it was more shooting, and I went, Colony Wars. Colony Wars. So I was like, you know what? Ed does like space games. It's just the majority of what's been dominating the market has been shoot 'em ups. So
space shooting is not. There's not a huge market for it. There is a market for it,
right? But it's nowhere.
I think there could be a good market for it. That's why I was excited about Squadrons when it was announced.
Yeah,
right. Well, there's Everspace.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's on everything. It's on PS4, Xbox, and
they have a sequel coming out.
Yeah, there's a second one coming.
So it has enough. I mean, that should tell you something when a game warrants a sequel. That there's obviously at least enough interest for that game for it to be profitable.
And isn't even Elite Dangerous a sequel?
Yes.
Of Elite?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because their original is on the very main screen when you boot the game up. The copyright date is 1984 to today.
Damn. Someone really liked that fucking name.
Well, it's a PC. It was a PC game, and it's been around since 1984. And they've had multiple.
It was around before Mario. Let that sink in.
Right.
Not before Donkey Kong, but before Mario.
Now the copyright, I'd have to look into it. I don't know when the first game came out, but that could have been their first novelization or their story writing or whenever the company was formed.
That's true.
But still, let that sink in. That game's been that game. We're right now. People are going to hear this podcast and like, what the fuck is Elite Dangerous? And yet here we are talking about Elite going, it's been around for just as long as anything else. But it's never been front and center. It's never been the bright shining star. The bright shining star is pumping out a new Call of Duty every 6 months.
And that's why I stick to my old games on my fucking 64. That's not entirely true. I have been playing a reimagining of sorts of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I've been playing Bloodstained. So
Okay.
far, I'm
Ritual?
enjoying the hell out of it. Yes.
Yep.
I am enjoying the hell out of it. Not a fan of the fact that there's immense amounts of grinding involved. But aside from that, it's pretty good.
That's good.
The boss fights are unfucking forgiving.
The Bloodstained, that's the third party.
That is made
That's a
by
Kickstarter.
the same guy
Right,
who was
right.
production on
Gotcha.
Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
Because
Igarashi.
Iga, yeah.
there was another third party Kickstarter, and it was supposed to be a Mega Man game, and apparently it's terrible.
Mighty Number 9.
Mighty Number
Yeah,
9.
everyone was so excited for it.
I feel really bad because he really did try his heart out. The problem is he kept people. Okay, it was a case of consumers not really knowing what they wanted until they got what they didn't want.
Right.
They're like, we want a new Mega Man game. You know that thing where you kill bosses and you get their powers and you can use those against other bosses? That's really cool.
Right, but Mega
So
Man
then-
was also like, well, your foot was 1 pixel left, so that means you die.
Basically.
Okay.
So they got an old Mega Man game with a new coat of paint, but they didn't get the innovation they wanted.
Okay.
They wanted him to do something else with it, and he didn't really go in a new direction.
Isn't that also Metroid, though? Kill the boss, collect the power up.
That's Metroid Prime.
Right. Yeah. Shadows.
Echoes.
Echoes.
That
I love Echoes.
that
so great.
begs to be an argument because how should I put this? What he did with that game,
Mighty Number 9.
Mighty Number 9, it didn't play like a Mega Man. Like it was a Mega Man in theory, but a Mega Man game is very precise. There's a lot of precise jumps.
That's what I remember about Mega Man is that it was a very skill-based game.
There is a lot of there, and that's one of the great things about playing a Mega Man game was after you beat Mega Man, you're like, fuck yeah!
Well, hell
Like,
yeah. Yeah.
It's like Dark Souls.
Kind of,
it's
yes.
it's like, I'm not saying Dark Souls and Mega Man are on the same level of hardness, but like there's those moments like the original Mega Man's tough as shit. Like
That's the thing. I never played the original Mega Mans. I played Mega Man X, and that game was so precise and so fucking demanding. But it felt so good to play.
But Mega Man X is considered one of the best among the community for Mega Man because it's
Yes.
X2 is, yeah.
because it's considered so good.
But Mega Man Mega Man 2 is my favorite Mega Man. It has been, it always will be. They can't make a new Mega Man that's going to make me go, shit, I love this one more.
it
Mega
does
Man-
have like the best title music of all fucking time.
Oh, fuck yes.
I love the title menu music of Mega Man 2. I
Ma-
even love the picture of him standing on a cliff without his helmet and his wind blowing his hair. I love it.
That was kind of like I never thought that a video game could do that until you seen him standing there. It just blew me away as a kid. I was like, I get to play as that guy? That's going to be awesome. Mega Man is one of those games that it is so hard to replicate. Mm-hmm. Inafune, whenever he decided he was going to make Mighty Number 9, drew so much inspiration from a character that he made. I guess maybe I can't say that he made Mega Man out of love, but I can't say that he didn't make Mega Man out of love. I mean, he had to have a passion for it. He was younger then. It was there. It's hard to replicate something. It is when you are purposely trying to replicate what you once have. It almost feels like you lose something, and it's like lost in translation. It's even if you are the creator, even if you do it yourself, if George Lucas decides tomorrow, I'm going to completely recast Episode 4 and direct it in the exact same fashion, it's never going to feel like that. It's never in the same way with Empire Strikes Back or any of those others. If he goes back through, recasts it all, and directs it the same way he directed the first one, only with make it a little different looking, it will never be the same. Mighty Number 9 could not be Mega Man. It just was impossible. There was no
Too high
way.
of a standard, you think?
Yeah. Or maybe too low. Maybe people were expecting it to be dumbed down and something that it... Because Mighty Number 9 is a lot of flash. There is a lot going on in a level. I mean, when you watch it, there's stuff going on in the background of it, which Mega Man's always kind of done, and even on the NES days. But there is simplicity. There is... How should I put it? There is... I can't even grasp the words for it, but there's a lot of art to working with so little. There's a lot of art when you're pushing your potential on a system like that, and Mighty Number 9 pushes no potential. Mighty Number 9 doesn't make any envelope.
Gotcha.
It's just it's trying to recapture the good old days, and it missed the mark because it wasn't. It isn't. It can't be.
But in that same vein, I would argue that Bloodstained does exactly what it sets out to do and more.
But, go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say. Sorry.
It is Symphony of the Night. It is redone Symphony of the Night, but in some ways better, and in a lot of ways not quite as good, but still good enough to be given a very, very,
So you'd give it a passing grade, is what I'm
I
saying.
would give it a high passing grade because
And Mighty Number 9 gets a D for a lot of people.
I do know that Bloodstained has not so much haters, but people who weren't completely satisfied with it. The man went through. He released a trailer. Iga released a trailer.
This was months before release.
Months before release, and people were not happy with the trailer. So he said, "You know what? Fuck it. We have spent like 7 years and all this money on this game. The least we can do is at least try to make it match people's standards." So he went through the entire game and redid it. They cleaned it up. They polished it. They made it gorgeous looking. And as it is now, it runs at 60 frames a second, buttery smooth, never stutters, to my knowledge.
Buttery smooth.
On the
Buttery
Switch,
smooth.
it's got some hang-ups and hooks. But yeah, it's... But I don't think... Okay, so with Mighty Number 9, Inafune was trying to put lightning in a bottle again. I think Iga did something completely different with Bloodstained. And I think that he took a game that he really loved and took some heart and soul from it and wanted to create something new. Bloodstained isn't just Bloodstained could stand on its own. It's a very good side-scrolling.
It can build its own legacy.
Yes.
Unlike Mighty Number 9.
Mighty Number 9 was standing on the shoulders of Mega Man the entire time. You can't look at Mighty Number 9 and go, this is something new. Where you can look at Bloodstained and the way that the character evolves and the way that the character develops, even the storyline to it. I mean, it's not anything too...
Honestly, this is one of the very few games where I think gameplay way overrides story because the story's kind of boring as shit.
Right. The story doesn't do anything new. I mean, it's kind of goofy. But honestly, the game itself takes you and it gets fucked up as the game goes on. Like the levels get more intricate, the levels get harder, but the combat feels satisfying. The combat feels rewarding. It evolves. It turns into something else. It goes beyond what Castlevania was, and it doesn't just feel like another Castlevania game. And that's why Bloodstained
that is true.
Or even a ripoff or a clone.
Right.
If you might find this interesting.
I'll be the judge of that.
That's why I said might. T number 9. Shut up. The big thing that this game does different from Castlevania Symphony of the Night is, in Symphony of the Night, you get swords and axes and weapons and you hit shit. And that's about it. This game takes combat and does kind of evolve it, where every monster you fight, literally just about every monster, has a chance of giving you a crystal shard, and this shard contains some of its power. Like, there's early on enemies in the game called Doulahan heads, or something like that.
Okay.
And they will take their heads, which are spiked balls, and throw them at you. And if you kill them enough, there's a chance they will drop their power, so now you can use their power on other bosses and enemies.
So you can pull your own head
Yes.
off and throw it?
Yes. No, you can't. You can use their head, though.
Okay.
And you can upgrade them. The more of those shards you get, the stronger it becomes. But the more you level it up, which is a completely different process, the bigger the head becomes.
Okay.
It's a ball and chain, basically.
No, that sounds pretty cool. It really does.
There's also like drill swords in the game. I'm having a hell of a fun time with those.
I call mine a drill sword.
There is a lightsaber in the game too called the Encrypted Orchid. Its message is an encryption, like literally 1XALB. You know?
Right, I gotcha.
And if it's translated, it reads like a very powerful lightsaber.
Oh.
It's literally a purple lightsaber.
Right.
But it's really... I think my favorite thing about the game so far is that you can get 8-bit coins, 16-bit coins, and 32-bit coins. And from the very start of the game, you can use one of these coins to unlock basically a top-tier weapon at any point.
Okay.
If you find them or if you buy them.
I gotcha. That's cool.
And the only way to upgrade them is with, like, if you have an 8-bit weapon, like, we'll use the Encrypted Orchid as an example. If you get that weapon, the only way to upgrade it is with a 16-bit coin.
Okay.
Which costs, like, 4 times as much.
Right.
And
well, if it's going to be wicked powerful, there's got to be a cost
yes.
for it. Because how many times have we played games and you unlock a Game Plus mode, or you use even cheats, and then the fun of the game is just gone.
And that's the thing. This game is like, it's constant striving is what I'm getting out of this game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's farming involved if you want to, but the game rewards you plenty well enough without it.
I don't mind a little farming as a gaming technique, as long as it's not all farming.
And on top of that,
that's what a lot of games do.
They do.
Elite Dangerous.
Dark Souls, very guilty of that. This game makes farming extremely easy because loading between rooms is damn near seamless. I mean, there's like a second pause, but you can go right out, right back in, hit the enemy, right out, right back in, hit the enemy, right out. It's very quick, and it's very easy to farm.
Okay.
That's kind of the appeal of it, is that it's addicting.
A lot of farming, though, originally was just meant as an exploit. It was like, oh, I can advance a little faster or be a little stronger at this next point if I go ahead and I grind out this
even in
little bit.
like the old Final Fantasy games, you had to farm, you had to grind a little bit to get as powerful enough to fight some of the bosses. I remember playing Final Fantasy 2, which is for, globally, playing Final Fantasy 2 and getting to a point where I'm like, shit, this guy keeps wiping my ass. Gotta go out and grind some more and try to build my guys up a little bit before I go back in there.
So so grinding and farming is kind of OG in itself.
Yeah.
It's been around since the beginning. Okay. All right.
Even in Zelda, there's grinding. You got to get them rupees, son.
Right.
I mean,
Gotta cut that grass.
Yeah.
Trim them hedges.
But you take anything that an old developer makes and put them into a new game, I kind of always want to show up to that, because you loved what they made originally and you want to love the new too. And that's a lot of the problem with Inafune's Mighty Number 9 was people were expecting the old again. They were expecting that again. They weren't expecting anything new. And when they came in and seen that this is Mega Man in theory, but it's something bombastic or a little off of what they really wanted it to be, that's when people were upset with it. That's why people got upset with it.
So if we mark that as a failure, is that a failure on the developer, or is that a failure on the supposed market? Because it was a Kickstart game, right?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Concept was the one that was behind it, which Inafune's a part of anyway. In fact, Concept, I think, was Mighty Number 9, or not Mighty Number 9, Bloodstained as well. Did they help with Concept?
Could be.
Concept.
That sounds familiar.
We'll look that up.
Okay.
Why
But
don't you look that up?
that's
Don't
kind
forget
of
to look that up.
Oh yeah, Ninja Gaiden Z. I forgot about that.
What? Is it old Ninja Gaiden or good Ninja Gaiden?
2012.
See, you're part of the fucking problem. If they're gonna kickstart a Ninja Gaiden, you're gonna say shit like that, and they're not gonna know what the fuck you want.
Exactly.
What are you gonna want to purchase? You're like, I don't know. Is it old or good? What does that mean? Come on, Ryu. Come on, you can do it.
Look, name another game that at launch 360 could support at 60 frames a second.
I don't know.
Ninja Gaiden 2.
Okay. Want a cookie or congratulations? You want a medal?
No, I want another fucking Ninja Gaiden 2.
You want a good one?
Ninja Gaiden 3 was garbage.
It was Inti Creates. That was the company that was a part of Bloodstained.
Okay.
In fact, they're working on Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2.
Curse of the Moon 2?
Yeah. Did you
Wow.
not? Did you play Curse of the Moon?
I wanted to, but I decided against it. I wanted to save myself for the game.
Curse of the Moon was actually, it came out before.
I watched the speed run of it. That game looks fucking good.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's basically they took the Castlevania thing further and made a free DLC. Was it free?
If you had it pre-ordered, you got it for
Yeah,
free.
okay. But it's literally 2D sprite-based Castlevania with Bloodstained characters instead, basically. Like the game starts you off on a train, but it's so Castlevania it hurts. And it's fucking good. And you can pick between characters.
It's Castlevania 3 in a lot of ways.
It's
Okay.
very Castlevania.
Okay.
3.
And it went over really well. People love Curse of the Moon sometimes more
Yes, that is the general consensus.
than they loved the initial game. Because that was what the Kickstarter goals was, is he said if he makes it, he would make a precursor game 8-bit. He would do a precursor game in 8-bit, and he did it, and he did it really good. Which is kind of weird because Iga didn't get his start, I think, until PlayStation. Until they were on the PlayStation. I don't think he was with them.
I could be wrong, but I think he's been with them for quite a while. But I know that Symphony of the Night was his first directorial debut.
Yes.
But I think he was a Konami programmer long before that.
Was
He
he...
wears a cowboy hat sometimes.
He's got a penchant for the dramatics. He definitely does.
Take that ridiculous thing off. Pulls off his mustache.
I love it.
He's been around since 92. Hell, he worked on Gradius too.
Yes, that sounds more like
So
it.
maybe that's his secret to longevity in the game business.
He's got a special
Fucking cowboy
thanks.
his cowboy
It's the
hat.
cowboy hat. He's got a special thanks on Rondo of Blood. He was assistant director, programmer, and scenario writer for Symphony of the Night.
Okay.
He produced Chronicles. He was promotional on Circle of the Moon.
Okay, this is controversial, but, to all 5 people who care. I think Chronicles is fucking good. There are people who hate Chronicles. It's a remake of Castlevania 1, along with, like, an older version of Castlevania 1, sort of. It's hard to explain. It's
I
good,
gotcha.
though. The music is fantastic.
But he has
Music
been...
always helps.
It looks like up until 2010, he was working on Castlevania in the producer casting up till 2010, Harmony of Despair. Even Castlevania the Arcade, he got a special thanks on it in 2009. So yeah, he'd been working on quite a bit over the years as far as the Castlevania series is concerned.
Yes.
Rondo of Blood was his first entry into the series. Huh.
That would make a lot of sense.
3 is still my favorite. And Symphony of the Night, I've never beat Symphony of the Night.
There are so many games you've never beaten because you don't have the time.
No.
And Symphony of the Night takes extra amounts of time, because I'm sure you know the big twist of the game.
Upside Down Castle.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
go through the entire game, beat the final boss, but if you want the true ending, you have to find 2 rings, wear special glasses, go fight the boss, find out that he's being mind controlled, and then the entire castle that you've been exploring for 18 hours turns upside down, and you have to start from Dracula's throne room and explore it all again.
And then everybody dies because it tips over, and they're like, and they follow the ceiling spikes, and then there's blood.
Give me a fire when ready.
Fire would...
Sorry, that reminded me of a meme I saw. Total skewed off this. It was boobies typed on a calculator,
Rock on.
but then under it was Admiral Piet, and he's like, "It's an older code, sir, but it still checks out."
It still checks out.
I love it.
Whoever made that meme, I was like, "Hallelujah." Anyway,
So, it's kind of weird that he has become synonymous with Castlevania. He didn't even get in till the fifth in the series, and he is considered Mr. Castlevania now.
And that is about when they started getting good. I'm bullshitting you. I've
3
always
was
loved them.
fucking amazing.
I saw a little bit of fire behind Mark's eyes when you said that. When you said that.
1 is amazing too.
I do prefer the first Castlevania because it's more precision based. Castlevania 3 I love because it is so grandiose. It's like the only NES game that I could think of that makes you feel like you're having a grand fucking adventure. Because you see looming castles in the background and shit. It's great.
Star Fox.
Oh yeah, Star Fox for the original NES.
Oh.
Castlevania 2 is not a great game. Castlevania 2 is what we call the apology. That's the game that you always go, look, we're sorry that Castlevania 2 came out, but without it, we wouldn't have Symphony of the Night.
Right.
Because it showed that you could make a 2D RPG the same way Faxanadu or Fozanadu or whatever the hell it's called.
Sure.
It was a 2D side-scrolling RPG as well. But without Castlevania 2, like, Symphony of the Night wouldn't even be thought of, to be honest. I mean, you can tell that.
There's a lot of Castlevania 2 in there, but I would argue there's more Metroid in there.
Well, they are called Metroidvanias.
Exactly.
That's the shitty part, too. Like, I keep looking at even Castlevania 2, a lot of elements from Metroid are in there, as far as the side-scrolling, collecting, make it to this boss, do this. But they're called Metroidvanias. Wouldn't they just be Metroids then?
It's because Castlevania was more popular for a while.
Fucking Castlevania. Oh. I like Castlevania, so we're good. But, yeah, Metroid is not a Japanese... Like, the Japanese are not in love with Metroid.
Yeah, that drives me nuts. Come on, man. It's everything the Japanese love. Hot chicks and giant robot suits and fucking...
Monsters.
Creepy monsters at that.
Really fucking creepy.
There's a disturbing lack of tentacles, though.
My ass!
Maybe that's it.
You played Metroid Prime 2. There's entire monsters that are tentacles.
Maybe there's not enough tentacles, and that's why they're not into it.
It would be funny if that's
Just a
like
theory.
on the rating boards, like, not enough tentacles.
I wanted more tentacles. This guy says, please quit skimping on the tentacles.
There's a review I saw for The Shining from the fucking 70s. It had 1 star. It said, just rude. And it's the whole review was, you know, Jack is just fucking rude.
Don't watch it. The main antagonist
He's kind of a dick.
is mean.
It's a good thing Squidbillies aren't over there then.
Right, no shit.
Yeah.
No shit.
But I mean,
What
even
are you doing over here jibbing on like a gibberty box? Jib jab on. Jib jab on. Sorry.
even in fucking Super Metroid, literally half of the bosses have the roars of Godzilla monsters. You can't get more Japanese than that. Crocomire has Titanosaurus's roar.
Right.
Drogon has Anguirus's roar. There's a couple others that have Anguirus's roar for some reason. So, yeah, Japan.
Super Metroid's got nothing. There's no what the hell is the sound that oh shit. I'm trying to think of whenever you're fighting the last Metroid at the very end of the game when you're in there and you're fighting the mother brain thing. What the fuck does that thing sound like?
Fucking pure shock and horror.
Yeah.
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 It sounds like a final boss, all right.
It's something else.
I love it.
It's kind of almost too easy. When you get to the very end of it and you fight Mother Brain, it's almost too simple. I mean, there is a little bit of, I guess, skill to it, but not much.
Not really, no.
Most of it's just played out, and then you're supposed to get dropped, and then...
But that's the point. That's the one time in the game where the game is like, we're going to take control now. We want you to feel drama. This thing that you've been hunting the whole game is now on your side. Take that. Is now on your side, and it's about to fucking die, even though it's a baby. Avenge it. And that's what the game wants you to feel. And it's the only time the game does that.
It's kind of weird, too, that it comes in at the end.
It is a bit weird.
Well, what about saving the creatures in Super Metroid?
That's also at the very end.
Okay.
That's after you fight the final boss.
Are you talking about the little jumpy things?
Yeah, fuck those things.
Whatever. You can save those things at the end?
Okay, so in GDQs, like we were mentioning, the biggest money drawer, because this is a charity event, the biggest money drawer in GDQs is in the big, like Super Metroid is like the final race to end all races. Do you save the animals or do you kill the animals? And you can put huge, they have gone, I believe, into the hundreds of thousands of dollars for both categories.
Really?
Yes, because, and I guarantee it's because of one event that happened 3 or 4 years ago. The guy running it, because there will be 4 people running it at once, right? It's a race. But one of them was on world record pace. He would have broken the world record if they had not voted for him to save the animals.
Oh no! Oh no! No!
And did
no!
he know
no.
it at the time?
Yes, they can see their own timers. Yes, he knew that he would have. He was pissed to do it.
But he had people throwing money.
Yeah, there was
voted.
money on it. He had no choice. Yeah, that's still cool though.
See, that's what I love it because it gets the crowd involved.
Right? There's drama in there.
Yeah, it's like any good sporting event.
That's cool. Well, go ahead.
That would ultimately suck, though.
Well, personally, yeah.
I don't. That guy's got a lot more willpower than I would have, because that's like going, look, you can have the thing that a lot of people covet and want, but to get it, you're going to have to make a sacrifice. It's either you lose out on all this and get all the fame and glory for it. Being a Metroid speedrunner, whatever that would get you.
Now, keep one thing in mind. The speed world records are broken all the time.
Right.
Like, from week to week, there's a new world record by milliseconds.
Right.
So it really wasn't that big a loss, but in the moment, in the drama of a 2-hour-long race,
Of course.
yes, it was a devastating blow.
Well, what's the... There's a couple videos on it, but those creatures are...
X-parasites. Yeah,
X-parasites.
there's a
That's
game-
the theory.
There's a game that came out around the time of
Was it
Metroid
Fusion?
Prime. Yes. Fusion for the Game Boy Advance. The whole enemy of that is X-parasites, which in the lore, because I'm sure you're all very interested, Metroids, the big baddies of all the games, were invented to kill X-parasites. They're the only thing that can. X-parasites replicate other life forms. There is an X-parasite that replicates Samus and steals her suit.
I remember
The SAX, and it steals you it stalks you at all times, basically. It's kind of like Mr. X in Resident Evil 2.
I remember I beat Fusion, but that was 12 years ago.
I've got Fusion still. I have not beat it, but I've got it. I didn't beat it.
It was
for
longer
some
now. It
reason.
was like 16 years. Anyway.
But the big prevailing theory is that the animals you save from Super Metroid are actually X-parasites. Because they're in the game, and they will actually rescue you from the final boss. They rescue you after the end of the game.
It's kind of weird, too, because people have always said, like, wouldn't it be cool if we had a Metroid movie or a Metroid series? But Samus doesn't really, for being a bounty hunter, she doesn't really come across, like, what is her bounties?
Right. Well, it's supposed to be space pirates because they, quote-unquote, killed her family, so she has a vendetta against them.
Right, but then she wouldn't be a bounty hunter because we're...
Well, she does just like Boba Fett does. She does hunt for bounties. It's just never really explored in the game.
Right, that's my point.
Right.
Like, they could have just said she's an explorer, she's a blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Her being a bounty hunter, like, they don't ever go into...
Right. They could have made her an exterminator instead.
Right.
They could have done anything else.
And then put an Orkin suit on her.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And then she could do an infinite kick. Yeah. You said Orchid suit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Orkin Man.
Oh, Orchid. I thought you said Orchid. I was thinking Killer Instinct. On part 1, you can do the infinite.
I was thinking of destroying bugs, and you were thinking of destroying Saberwolf.
Saberwolf.
That's good. But so you save them, and then the planet explodes in the ending cutscene of Super Metroid.
Uh-huh.
And then if you save them, there will be like a streak of something off to the side.
Just the tiniest particle. That's what you get for going out of your way during the final explosion.
It's to show the aliens or the little aliens, quote unquote, which may or may not be X-parasites escaping the explosion. So you're like, yay, I did it. They're free.
It's kind of weird too because so we have got a breakdown of what those creatures are, why they're there, and everything else. But in the lamest version of that, they are literally there just to show you how to jump up that little...
Right.
Yeah, but if they weren't there, you wouldn't know how to space jump.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't know how to do the wall jump back and forth.
You
up
would
the
have.
wall.
Someone would figure it out.
Well, I mean, the game
eventually.
requires it apart.
Yeah.
so-
Right. I mean, you would eventually figure it out. I think.
Is that the one thing you can do from the get go, and it's not said until then?
You can wall jump for sure, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I couldn't remember if that was it.
But space jumping is another thing entirely.
Right. That's mechanics in games like that. It's kind of cool that you like. I can't maybe it is Symphony of the Night or something like that, where there is a mechanic to the game that you don't realize you can do, even though you can do it from the beginning.
You have Dracula's powers. Like old Castlevania Dracula. You can put in like fighting code combinations.
Yes.
And you will teleport anywhere you want on the screen, and you're invincible during this whole animation. You will teleport, open your cape, throw 3 fireballs. You don't know you can do that, and the game never tells you.
Okay, that's cool.
There's another one where it's stupid complicated, but you can summon a ghost, and it just attacks shit for you. And there's another one where you can absorb all the life force of everything on the screen, but that one's way too complicated for me. And there's a fourth one, but yeah, there's like a few powers that the game never tells you have.
That's kind of neat. But also, could you imagine you play that game for a decade of your life? You're like, I love this game, and then someone's like, oh yeah, at the very beginning of the game, if you just push down during the cutscene, you're invincible the rest of the game.
Blow your fucking mind. You're like, what?
This is in the Guinness Book of World Records. In the first Resident Evil, not director's cut, like Resident Evil 001, if you don't kill the zombie at the beginning and you bring it in for Barry to kill,
Right.
every zombie in the game goes down in 3 shots from that point on.
But if you kill it,
If you kill it, then it's random as usual.
okay.
Really?
That was in the Guinness Book of World Records 2008 edition, if I recall.
Why would that be in Guinness?
They had an entire gamer edition.
Kind of like why the fuck is Billy Mitchell back in Guinness?
We're talking the beer. Is he that drunk?
The funny thing is you heard that Billy Mitchell got reinstated into Guinness, but not Twin Galaxies. Who Guinness holds to hold all the records for? Guinness Book of World Records supposedly is letting Billy Mitchell back in, but supposedly on top of that, Twin Galaxies is supposed to be the legacy score holder. Guinness is supposed to take all that. So I learned a lot listening to people talk about Billy Mitchell and talk about Guinness. So
Turns out his hot sauce ain't that hot after all.
exactly, bingo. No, the bad thing is Guinness is actually owned by Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Oh, I knew that.
Yeah, I
yes.
knew that, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so and that seems like it's not been that long ago that they were acquired, or it's not been. There's something in there that it's not. They've not always owned them. And the way it sounds, Guinness Book of World Records is ran more like a company than we know.
That sucks.
That does suck. Because then that makes you feel that every record is suspect.
And the other thing is they're not official. Like anybody can get into the Guinness Book of World Records. There's no like this is the official world record held up by all nations and blah 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 blah
Right.
blah.
It's just, hey, we're Guinness, and we said this is the best.
That's like saying, well, Marvel Comics now says that this guy is the best pinner in the world. You know, it's like, okay,
Well,
so
I
Marvel
mean,
Comics says that. Whoop-de-doo.
You can call, as far as I understand, you can call them and be like, hey, I'm going to set a world record for number of pen clicks in a 24-hour period.
Exactly.
You can call them for whatever, and then they'll send a dude to watch, and you'll work out whatever the rules are, what's a fail, what's a win, and then you just like, all right, and go. Click, 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 click. You know, and you're like, hey, Josh Lewis is the world record holder for number of pen clicks in a 1 minute period of 67, you know, and then literally the very next day someone can do 87 just because now there's actually a record to beat, because before no one gave a shit, but now it's like, well, I could do better than that.
He set the bar.
exactly
He has set it, and we're going after it.
They even
Fucking
did it
high
on
standard.
They even did it on Dude Perfect, the one guy with the beard. Most number of Diet Coke cans opened with one hand, and the record was like 47. So he was just going
Fucking minutia.
exactly, and he got to like 56. So he broke the world record and set a new one. And of course, they're like, yeah! And everyone's freaking out because it's Dude Perfect and it's on the internet. And you got to be exciting and everything has to be cool. But still, it's just like, really? How about number of free throws one-handed?
Just anything. Like, the one that always comes to my mind is that the world record for the longest kiss was 36 hours.
And she died.
Bitch had to piss.
She died an hour into it. She suffocated. No, there's world records for like longest time using a pogo stick in the Amazon River that has piranhas in it.
Just fucking random.
I mean, yeah, that's cool. You can do these things because a lot of people aren't going to get in the Amazon River. They know there's piranhas. There's other things with teeth, and they're like, I don't need to be in that river. I'll be okay. You know, but still, I don't know.
So Dan Reichert, who worked at Giant Bomb up till earlier this year,
Is he Commander Riker's brother?
Yeah.
I just had to fuck. I'm sorry.
No, that's Thomas Riker.
No, that's no. That's from when he teleported up on that one planet, and then the teleport signal was beamed back down. So it's kind of like a clone.
And then there's that Riker that Q creates on Voyager.
Oh yeah.
you remember seeing a really tall man? I love, for some stupid reason. What show was that?
It was like a Ripley's Believe It or Not, or
Yeah.
like Ghost Stories or some show.
Well, anyway, they've taken the beginning of
Jonathan
those.
Franks.
Yeah, they've taken the
Frakes.
beginning of those. Like, he's got segments that he does, and he goes through and he breaks them down for you. But at the beginning of it, he talks about, like, you know, the setup for every little mini clip that he's going
Right,
to show
whatever
you.
they're about to talk about.
He always poses the weirdest fucking questions.
But they've slowed those down to half, and he sounds so drunk when
he
he's
sounds like
announcing.
a drunk uncle asking you stupid questions,
Yeah.
like, how many ghosts does it take? You know.
My favorite collection of those I've seen is Jonathan Frakes tells you you're right for 47 seconds.
You're right.
And it's just, you're right. Have you ever ridden a bike and noticed that the wheel is a little off? You're right. Just shit like that. I love Jonathan Frakes so much. He directed all the good Star Treks. Come on, man.
Anyway, we're back on Riker's brother.
Oh, yeah, Riker.
Distant second cousin.
Dan Riker. He broke the Guinness World Record, longest fighting game marathon. He's in there twice. For this, he played on the Nintendo Wii, he played Smash Brothers Brawl, 30
They
hours.
consider it a fighting game.
Yeah, fuck Guinness. 30 hours nonstop playing 474 matches. 474. And it looks like he did that when he worked at Game Informer in 2011. The other record he set was, it looks like he was also at Game Informer still, was Mario Party. 30 hours? No, record at 50 hours. Riker was in the Super Mario franchise, setting the record at 50 hours.
Jesus. That game's not even fun for more than 2 or 3 hours.
I don't think it was just in Mario Party that he did it in, because it says in the Super Mario franchise.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't even play like my most favorite games for more than 8 hours before I'm like, fuck this game.
Yeah, I know. I'm already getting sick of Majora's Mask, and I've been playing it for a while.
Nonsense. How come you're not a world record holder? You've been playing it for 12 fucking years.
Yeah.
No.
I don't.
If that's the kind of record you're going to set, that's what you need to fucking go for. Something insanely insane, like playing Majora's Mask for 72 hours.
That statement's more ironic than you know, because the game takes place over 3 days.
He's very smitten with himself, isn't he?
Yeah.
He stepped in dog shit, and he looked at it and he goes, it's not so much shitty. It's not that shitty.
Worked out my part. Bada bang.
Sure as hell ain't
Bada-bing.
Destiny.
Bada bang.
Yeah, I know. Destiny is the way of the future. Halo still is a part of the past.
I see that you're trying to provoke me, and I politely tell you, fuck off.
I fall not for your ploy, sir.
I still say Turok's better anyway.
I would like to see Destiny. If they're gonna sunset all that shit in Destiny 2, I would like to see them do, like, maybe branch off into something else. Like, make it to where you can still play that old content. I don't understand why they're gonna. Why would you get rid of all that? Make it to where people could still access that shit, because there's still achievements, gameplay, all that stuff that they're just gonna go meh.
They can't access any of that?
Not after the new content comes out. No, they're gonna nitpick what
Wow.
stays in base Destiny 2.
That's kind of horse shit.
Yeah. So there'll be planets that won't be in Destiny 2 anymore. There'll be content that you won't see in Destiny 2 anymore because they're going to put it on the shelf. That doesn't mean that they're going to delete it or get rid of it completely forever, but they're going to sunset it, and it kind of boggles my mind how they can do that.
That's just not right.
Well, other games have done the same. World of Warcraft has changed their worlds as the games have progressed, and I get that a little bit. But really, they're doing it because of file size. They're doing it because of that. And Destiny does it, World of Warcraft does it because something in the world is catastrophic and we want to change and revamp it. But with Destiny, it's not really changing or revamping the world per se, but it's cutting down the file size.
Right.
I mean, it's over 100 gigs on modern consoles now. So
Well, and does that even count? Okay, so real quick, that begs the question, because they have for Destiny 2, there's 3 DLCs.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean they're already installed, and if I purchase those, all it does is give me the license to unlock that content? Or am I going to have to download those as well? Because that'll shoot it well over 100 gigs.
You've already got it downloaded.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's already downloaded. All that does is unlock the content on your
Okay.
what you have.
I hate it. I might as well be on disc DLC. I hate that shit.
I get it. Like, well, I understand why Destiny has to. The game is basically free now. The game is. You do not have to pay to play base Destiny right
Right,
now.
it's free to play, for sure.
That makes it a little better.
That's why I'm playing it. I've not paid for anything on it. Not even microtransaction for the silver or anything.
You don't need that bull shark card?
I'm glad I can restrain myself on Destiny, because I can't on fucking
GTA.
on GTA. I fucking can't.
But that's the bad thing too.
I
Is
need that golden yacht.
on GTA though, there's appeal to it. Like on Destiny, nobody else is going to see you, and you're not going to interact with anybody else unless you go play Crucible. On GTA, it makes a difference because you're like, fuck, I don't have to travel back and forth. If I buy this property, I want this car, I'll go faster. I won't have to, even the fucking flying bike. And
Right.
doesn't
This one's
want a
got guns
DeLorean?
installed.
yeah. And you don't need roads. So, yeah. Where we're going, we won't need roads.
Nope.
So, I
We
mean,
won't.
I get with that game, putting real money in that game, I understand it, but fuck. The game is already $60 for most of us. I guess it's cheaper now for some, but it's still one of those games that's still locked in at a higher rate. It's like $40 or $30 if you go buy it now.
I could be wrong, but I thought I saw New Light. That's their newest DLC. I think it said it was $40.
$39.99.
Yeah. I don't have. I mean, I have that money.
But it also goes towards more worthwhile things.
Right, like food.
Exactly.
I do need to eat.
Bills.
I can live without Destiny DLC. I cannot live without water.
Or can you?
We haven't tried. That is true. We've not attempted it.
Guinness Book of World Records. Longest length of time without water.
Without water. Well, he lasted about like everybody else, about 72 hours, and then he keeled over.
Or we could put you in there for the first man to spend money on DLC versus on human needs.
Right.
Spent the biggest amount of money on DLC versus.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be close. I'm sure there's.
No, but you would be the starting point.
Oh, I would be setting the bar. That's correct.
That's exactly right.
If you're going to do
That's
that, do it for lottery, because that'll change hourly.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I don't. Video games Well, it's kind of funny, too, because video games have become a lottery in a lot of ways. You can't play a game anymore without having to fucking...
What was it, Battlefield? Battlefront? One of those games. I think it was Battlefront 2, actually. It got, like a fucking cease and desist, or it got sued or something for being considered technically lottery. You are paying for random boxes.
Well, when Battlefront 2 came out, it got criticized a lot because people were saying that that's what it was going to be. So they dumped it in the beginning before anything happened. They got rid of it out of it before it became a big thing because people were making a huge stink. And when you got a good game launching and people are stinking over it at the launch, then they're thinking, we're not going to sell a lot of this.
well,
so
I'm pretty
we need
sure
to change
the law
that.
got involved with them.
They got involved to the point where they were eyeing it over gambling. Or they were looking at it, but nothing was ever legally done about it.
They never got directly involved with that, but that did lead to them discussing legislation.
The ESA
Right.
and the ES loot boxes in general, because it's not the only game that was really bad about loot boxing at the time.
No, they're pretty much all of them.
Yeah, and that was the big thing was, well, even, what is it, Fortnite and stuff like that, that's all based on loot boxes as well, right?
Right, but it's all cosmetic.
Okay.
The Disney one, or not, it is Disney, the Star Wars one
Right.
was going to give you power-ups.
Right.
So if you wanted to go ahead and drop $300 fucking into the game, you were going to have more powerful equipment than other people.
And see,
Pay
that
to
was...
win.
It was going to be pay to win.
That was one of the things with Destiny.
Don't try it, Anakin. I've purchased the high ground.
That was good. I like that.
But that was kind of the thing with Destiny is it was all cosmetic in the beginning. Then there was murmur that it was going to be more than just cosmetic stuff, like you might have to actually buy your exotics. And I never seen that. I don't know if it ever got to that point or not, but that was when I started to cringe the hardest, when it was like, you're taking the video games out of video games. You're taking the playability out of a game. You want me to pay for shit. I've already paid for your game. I have put my money on the developer. The developer should be offering me something. Not to buy more stuff day one.
But then that begs the question, where does the fault lie? Because how many people, without fail, purchase these?
Yeah.
So
Why can't there be fault on both sides?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. They're offering
There
it.
is.
They're offering it knowing that what they're doing is predatory. But yet the people are still paying for it because they want it. I mean, even casinos are built to be maze-like, so you can't leave. You're like, where's the fucking front door? I need to go. I'm gonna have to blow a guy for a sandwich already. Can I go? Please?
Well, even to that extent, like when you go into a casino or something like that, and they start offering you drinks for free, they know they are lubricating. They're lubricating your wallet.
That liquor costs them next to nothing for what they're making off of all the people that they're giving it to.
Yeah, because if he's going to spend, let's say they give you $20 in booze in an hour, and you drop $100 in their machine.
It's an investment well worth it.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what it is. Well, and then you've got especially mobile games, because I was playing Game of Drones, which was
Was it almost like a porn parody?
it was a Futurama match game.
Oh, okay.
They were delivery drones, so it was called Game of Drones. Anyway, I got up all the way to like level 40 because it's a free-to-play game. But you can purchase power-ups to help you get better, right? Well, at a certain point, you start to level up, and you notice that the levels become harder and harder and harder. And then it got to a certain level where I could not beat it without purchasing a power-up. That's when I deleted the app. I was like, fuck you.
Yep.
I had my fun out
That
of you.
happens a lot.
I'm not going to do it anymore.
There's an entire South Park episode on that called Freemium, and it involves the Canadian devil. The real devil has to come fight the Canadian devil. It's a good episode.
Oh, man. Is the Canadian devil all polite?
Sort of.
I'm real sorry, but I'm going to have to thrash you now. I apologize for this.
A boot.
No. His name is Beelzebub.
Beelzebub. I'm a boot to put my foot in your ass.
Well, and there's one more, too. Dauntless.
Yeah.
Dauntless is free to play. It's it's made by the same company that does Fortnite. So Epic.
Yeah.
So it has a childish kind of animation and cartoon style to it. But
If
it's
you
the same.
think of- Sorry, I didn't
You're
mean to
okay.
cut you off.
Go ahead.
It reminds me of Fable. The animation does a little
Right,
bit. The
very
old
similar
Fable.
to Fable.
Love Fable.
But it's free to play, and when you first are leveling up to about level 12, it's just like, bam, level, get gear, get stuff, new weapons, new stuff, and then it starts to slow down, and then
it gets you addicted to the loop.
Exactly.
The grind of it, yeah. You get used to feeling like you're making progress, and then you get to the point where you're like, it's only a few bucks I could spend. This game is really good. I have spent like 4 hours into it. It's worth an extra $5 or $10 for me.
So now, like my character, I have it at like level 15, and a lot of my weapons and gear are at level 5 because you use collected items that you get from monsters that you kill, and then you have to grind. Now that this point, I'm at the game where you have to grind out killing monsters over and over and over to get the one. I might need a flame scale from some monster.
I'm doing the same thing in fucking
I
Bloodstained.
gotcha. So you understand.
Oh, yes.
So we've pretty much stopped playing for the most part because, but you can go to the store, and for $5, there just might happen to be mayhaps be the one on the random list of possible things you get from the box or whatever that might have that scale you want.
That's what I hate is randomness. Like, randomness has its place, but when it comes to getting something you actually need, randomness does not necessarily need to apply.
Well, especially if I'm paying cash for it.
Especially if you're paying cash.
I get it a little bit. I'm not saying the randomness. That's not the part that I get. The DLC, the added content, the pay to get anywhere in the game, I get that in a free-to-play game. In a game that costs $0 on initiative, I have more of a problem whenever you pay $60
Right.
and then day one they want more money on top of that.
Right.
That one's a harder pill to swallow.
Well, that's why, like, when Killer Instinct launched in 2013, the game was free to play, and the fighter rotated every week.
Right.
But you could buy any fighter you wanted, or you could buy the season pass, get all of them, get all their cosmetics. Anything you could buy separately. It's not like, hey, get this random box, and we'll give you 2 random fighters and random gear for characters you probably don't have unlocked.
Right.
But the cool thing, though, was with Killer Instinct was you could buy the whole season. You could buy all the characters in it. But every week when they did the trade out for the fighters, they usually put them on sale too. So it kept you coming back. So that did 2 things. That did 1, that gave them the money that they needed to keep producing the game. And 2, it kept an audience. Because they thought, oh shit, Killer Instinct's got a new player this Tuesday. I got to log back in to see who it is.
Yep.
I'll go ahead and drop my...
Oh shit, he's only $3?
Yeah.
I've got $3.
Yeah. What's $3 a week? That's not that bad.
Right.
In the meantime, though, you've spent $30 on it versus the $20 you would have bought for all of them at once.
Right.
Yep.
But then again, that's the cost of having it all now or having it all later.
I had a good time.
That's all right.
You should check out our website. We finally got it up and running again.
It's gorgeous.
It finally works.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
You can click on links and shit works now. You go check it out.
Very Bill Hicksish.
Thank you. Podcast at gamerda.com is where you can reach us on email.
Twitter at GamerDA1.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah, we're on Facebook at Gamer Discretion Advised.
Twitter at GamerDA1.
I can't.
Twitter at GamerDA.
Thanks.